Holocaust, for example, is that based off of racial lines, there's a tremendous difference between the way that white people view the Holocaust and the way that other minorities view the Holocaust. This is just evidently true. You can look at any poll. So that's really why. And people might not understand that, because I don't think that they ever really tried to put in any. I don't think a lot of people have, oh my God, it's so stupid. Well, if I'm saying something, here's a bit of advice, okay? If I'm saying something that sounds just so incredibly stupid, what the fuck are you talking about? This is the most retarded thing I've ever heard. What is, this is this is so dumb. There's no way people are this stupid. You can rest assured that I'm telling you the truth. That is when you know that we are dealing with reality. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Stalin killed 60 million Russians. No one talks about it. All I'm saying is that basically, there's a tremendous amount of white guilt that comes from Hitler, and I think this is in a way, I think it's misplaced, right? Because it's just Germany, really. It's Germany had this crazy asshole, and he's gone, right? But I think that's the reason why people are so. That's the reason why a lot of these white identity people are so strongly advocating for making Hitler and normalizing being positive about Hitler. Do you guys see my point about this? I don't think anybody sees this bigger picture, but that's the bigger picture. I don't see anybody talking about this either.
Victory is at hand.
There's more to it, actually. I'm sure I'm giving an abbreviated version.
Our vengeance is yours.
Make foreign aid to Israel all you want. That's fine. That's fair. But you have no place with that level of hatred. You can debate the right resolution of the Russia-Ukraine war, but if you believe Joseph Stalin is someone to look up to, you have no place in the future of the conservative movement. If you call Usha Vance, the second lady of the United States of America, a Jeet, you have no place in the future of the conservative movement.
Victory is at hand.
Yeah, I think I think it's destructive. It's on our. What it's doing is it's basically this type of identity politics is kind of, I think, what poisoned the Democrat Party. And if they continue focusing on racial identity and stuff like this, I think that it will alienate too many people and they'll lose political power. Even if you agree with it and you think it should be America for white people, you have to acknowledge that this really isn't a very good democratic position to have. There's too many people that disagree with it.
Glory to the unity!
And if you can't say those things without stuttering, then you have no place as a leader at any level in the conservative movement either. Certainly not in my state of...
The problem that Vivek has is that I think that all forms of gatekeeping are falling apart. All forms of approval are just completely collapsed. And at this point, nobody gets to decide who's part of the movement other than the movement itself. It doesn't matter if all of these people come up and they criticize the same person. If anything, that's just going to make that person look better. Gates aren't invincible? Yes, you're right.
Ohio.
That's sort of the opposite of what he's doing. He's saying that, what's this? You're saying that any discrimination makes you not part of the movement? Well, I'm talking about, he's talking about racial discrimination, and what I'm talking about is identity and value discrimination. These are two very different things. You know, this guy made money selling World of Warcraft gold back in the day? Oh, yeah. There he is.
Now, Benji Shapiro sat up here last night.
I gotta turn to apologies.
Planet has been discovered.
It's all about the truth. Ben, I've known you a long time.
Harmony
Now,
research
Benji Shapiro sat up here
Call him Benji.
last night.
Call him Benji.
He was all, I'm going to, it's all about the truth. Ben, I've known you a long time, brother. You can't handle the truth.
As you wish. To the death.
Honestly, I think Steve's right. This is Steve Bannon.
Harmony research
He's right.
complete.
I don't think Ben realizes how profoundly unpopular his values are. I don't think he does.
Another planet joins the unity.
Let's face it, Ben Shapiro is the farthest thing from MAGA. Let's be blunt.
Damn.
He is a hardcore never Trumper. He's a hardcore never Trumper. In the spring of 16, he tried to upend Breitbart. He walked off the job, made a big deal about some incident in Mar-a-Lago with Corey Lewandowski. He tried to
Your
turn it
presence
to
is
Ted
strong.
Cruz from Donald
Our
Trump
will
because he
shall be
hated
done.
Donald Trump.
Who does Ted Cruz support and go to
consider
work
it.
for to make sure that he works in their best interest every day? What entity does Ted Cruz do that for?
Harmony research complete. A colonizable planet has been discovered.
Somebody in chat said Canada. It's in fact not Canada, but it's Israel. You were close.
In the general election, he barely
I had to
Commerce
sit there and
upgrade
wait because
complete.
everybody knows it's Israel. I had to sit there and wait for like 2 seconds for one person to give a stupid answer. Like, I'm like, everybody knows. Everybody knew what it was.
supported Donald Trump. The first sign of when President Trump gets sent back to Mar-a-Lago, the very first individual that jumped on the Ron DeSantis train, the Israel First train, was Ben Shapiro.
Harmony
Damn.
research complete.
And those are the darkest
All
days
power
we
to
had.
Jump Drive.
That
In
was right after January 6th.
21 and 22, you guys
Yeah.
were there. He's consistently been against Trump, and now that President Trump doesn't back the Greater Israel Project. What is
Glory
Greater
to the
Israel? It's not
unity.
about Israel itself.
We shall
It's about an
overcome.
expansionist
For the
Israel,
unity,
an imperial
our forces
Israel
have
that
engaged the
Netanyahu
enemy.
and that crowd have thought
Your
up.
presence is
And the
strong.
Israel First crowd is Ben Shapiro,
Oh.
Tel Aviv Mark Levin, and many others.
Mark Levin is the, you remember him. He's the fat, bald retard. We all remember Mark Levin? Yes.
That want to put that
Yeah,
ahead of
yeah.
America's interests.
Which one? It's one of them.
Our vengeance is yours.
And so it doesn't
We'll
narrow it
consider
down.
it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Harmony research
And
complete.
let's see here. Oh, here's
Civilian
another one.
structure complete. Another planet joins
Shapiro
the
is like
unity.
a cancer,
Civilian
and that
structure
Shapiro is like
We
a
shall
cancer,
overcome.
and that cancer
Damn.
spreads.
Sacrifice begun. The unity's needs
Damn.
have changed.
Our vengeance is yours.
It's a cancer and it metastasizes. He tried to take over Breitbart and I ran him out of there. He tried to
Logistics
take over
upgrade
David
complete.
Horowitz's, who was his mentor. Don't ask me. It's the guys associated with David Horowitz, what he did there. He tried to take that over. And mark my word, he will make a move on Turning Point because he's
power to
always
Jump
been
Drive.
envious of
A
Charlie Kirk.
colonizable planet has been discovered.
Damn, bro. Like he's making it personal too. So anyway, and I'll go back. We're gonna look at the Ben Shapiro response, but before I actually, you know what? Let's watch this right
Harmony
here.
research
So
complete.
somebody asked
Our will
about the
shall be
USS
done.
Liberty. Now, the USS Liberty was a ship. I don't know all the details about this, but it was a ship that Israel attacked, basically.
You cited during your speech truth as the most important tenet
Civilian
of
structure
American
complete.
conservatism. Why, therefore, did you call irrelevant the
Civilian
Israeli
structure
attack
complete.
in
All power
1967
to Jump
on the
Drive.
USS Liberty, which left dozens of
Commerce
American
upgrade complete.
servicemen dead and hundreds wounded?
Somebody's having a bad time.
Glory
Somebody's
to the
having
unity.
a very bad time.
So what I actually said is that if we're looking at modern Israeli-American relations, looking at an attack that happened mistakenly by multiple Navy reports, multiple Israeli reports, and all available evidence, and using that attack in order to undermine today's relations between Israel and America, that's irrelevant.
So how can you use that attack to
Cry for
undermine
mercy.
Israel's relations with America, but you also use the Holocaust to bolster Israel's relations
Glory
with
to the
America, and it
unity.
happened even farther beyond that? I think this
Glory
is
to
an
the
example of
unity.
having your cake and eating it too. You want this collective guilt to continue, you know, building goodwill for Israel, but these things that Israel
Victory is
did
at
in the
hand.
past that were somehow problematic, well, that was a long time ago. It doesn't matter.
Glory to the
You see what I'm
unity.
saying?
We are listening.
Holocaust is not a mistake.
A new fleet is born.
It's still in the past. It's
Control
also a
group
fucking mistake.
created.
And the other thing
For
too is that
unity.
you've got to remember that America came over and stopped the Holocaust. We ended up helping Europe win the fucking war along with the fucking Soviets against Nazi Germany.
As irrelevant as it would be to cite a piece of evidence from World War II or from 1776 to define America's relations with, for example, Great.
If you think that World War II and the collective guilt of the Holocaust is not a massive factor for people's unconditional support of Israel, you are fucking delusional. It is absolutely a huge factor.
Britain or Germany today. That does not mean that the attack wasn't horrible for the Americans involved, that it wasn't bloody and terrible. The Israeli government paid reparations to the people who were killed. If you look at the actual military record of what happened on the USS Liberty, it was clearly a mistaken and tragic attack. The people who frequently cite
Didn't Ben Shapiro
Cry for mercy.
didn't he criticize even Germany's reparations for the Holocaust because it said that, oh, well, if this happened, it could allow them to buy their way out of the guilt? I remember reading something or seeing something about. Stop cutting him off. Yeah. Okay, I apologize. Let me let it play out.
The USS Liberty, however, are not talking about the specifics of the USS Liberty. I suspect that the vast majority of people who bring this up are doing so in order to suggest that Israel deliberately attacked an American ship because Israel deliberately wants to harm America. It is connected generally with a larger point. I wonder if that's your point.
I don't think that Israel wants to harm America. I think that Israel wants America to act in its best interest. Israel is not malicious. They're just simply opportunistic.
I shall stand with
Truth
you.
matters. Then the Israeli government must
You're gonna get some pauses, just not as many.
Attack.
Just
the
not as many.
American flag was flying on that ship. You do not mistake an American ship for a foreign one when our flag is flying.
So,
That's a
we
big
can spend the rest of the time talking about the specifics of the U.S. Liberty attack, or you can actually go look at the naval investigations that were done, multiple naval investigations that were done. The reality is that people were flying Mirage planes for the Israeli military at the time. The USS Liberty was sailing in an area where it had essentially gone off-grid. The Israeli military mistook it for an Egyptian ship. They thought it was shelling Al Arish, which happened not to be true. In the initial attack, the American flag was knocked down, and then the attack went on for about 90 minutes. And then, as soon, you can hear this, by the way, on the tapes of the Israeli pilots talking to each other. As soon as they realize that it's an American ship, they call off the attack. They speed a ship to try and help the USS Liberty. There have been multiple unfortunate friendly fire incidents between Allied forces, including, for example, in the Gulf War, where U.S. forces were responsible for killing about 9 British troops during the Gulf War. It's an unfortunate reality of war, but you're not answering my question, which is, what is your broader agenda in asking the question? Because I suspect that your question is not limited to your specific ire over an incident that happened in 1967.
Ben is right that he's not asking the question because of the USS Liberty. He's using that as a signal point to show that Israel does not have America's best interests in mind.
Is it time?
It's cool what he's doing. It's obvious.
I think we should question any foreign country's relationship with our
What's on your
government.
That's totally fine, but I'm just wondering why you
serve American interests.
Without
Again,
delay.
I'm perfectly fine with questioning any country's relationship with the United States. But, again,
Well,
Our vengeance
I'm wondering what your motivation is in bringing up
Your
a
presence is
6-decade-old attack as though it is the #1 issue in assessing the relationship between Israel and the United States today.
Well, many problems persist to this day, but it's interesting that you say 6-decade-old incident when there are many people in this audience who were alive for that attack, as if this is something that's irrelevant.
Well,
that doesn't
no, it's just not particularly relevant to assess
yeah, it's true. Yeah, 60 years ago isn't really that long.
the relationship between the United States and Israel today, in the same way that in 1967, there are a wide variety of countries with which the United States had different relations. Okay, it's clear.
Okay, yeah, there it is. Why would any other country have U.S. interests, best interests in mind? They shouldn't, which is why we shouldn't view them as we should view them as a foreign nation, the same as we view everything else as a foreign nation. That's the difference. And so I have no problem with that, but I think there's also like more to it than this. 6 decades old is irrelevant to the Holocaust, which is older than 6 decades is relevant. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious what's going on here. Give me 1 second. I think there was a couple more of these here. Oh.
Mining upgrade complete.
Let me
Your
see what
presence
this is.
is
It's a
strong.
long one. I don't want to watch a long one.
We answer the call. Strike!
Let me
Your
go and see if I can
presence is
find any more of
strong.
these here with Tucker
Glory to
Carlson.
the
Oh, here we go.
unity.
coalitions. It's the job of those of us who try to shape public opinion to hold politicians to account and to hold them accountable to our values. We must not let fear of audience deter us from telling the truth. We must not let fear of other hosts deter us from telling the truth. So, for example, if Candace Owens decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie Kirk
Oh boy, give me a minute. I gotta use the bathroom. This is gonna be good. And again,
What's on your mind?
there's
research
definitely
complete.
an implied consent, isn't there?
Civilian structure complete.
Okay.
I am the Unity's servant.
Planet item ready.
Candace Owens.
So, if Candace Owens decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie
Conspiracy
Kirk
Candace.
Presence is
casting
strong.
aspersions at TPUSA and the people who work here, who worked with Charlie
Last
every
chance
single day, his
to
best friend,
surrender.
to cast aspersions at
Civilian
Mikey
structure
McCoy and
complete.
Andrew Colvin and
Any
Blake
last
Neff
words?
and Tyler Boyer and yes,
Any
at
last
Erica
words?
Kirk, and to imply or outright claim
She
complicity
killed
in a
him.
cover-up over Charlie's murder, to spew absolutely baseless trash implicating everyone from French
The best thing, what I find to be so funny about this is that I actually do think in some of these points, Ben does have the clear and very defined moral upper hand. He does. And Ben is right. But I think that the Israel issue is so overpowered. It's so strong that literally nobody cares. Nobody gives a fuck. And it's also about the way he talks. No, he doesn't. I think it's very problematic what Candace has been doing. I do. I think it's very problematic. But like, I mean, again, it's her right to do it. Can you turn up the video quality? No.
intelligence to Mossad, to members of TPUSA in Charlie's murder, or a
Another
cover-up
planet
in that murder,
joins the Unity.
then we, as people with a microphone,
shall be
have a
done.
moral obligation to call that out by name.
Nope. Nope.
The Anima are restless.
Erica Kirk and TPUSA never should have been put in the position to
He's
have to
mad.
defend themselves against
big
such
mad.
specious and evil attacks, particularly in a time of mourning.
Well, what about, I mean, like, I'm gonna be real, like, I said this earlier, but bro, the 5 stages of grief was meant to be a metaphor. She's going out there and doing all these performances and everything, doing this, like, oh my god.
Commerce upgrade complete.
Really? Really? I mean, you gotta at least know that it's a bad idea, right? Like, I mean, even if you think it's the same as like Trump, right? Whenever Trump said that shit about that Hollywood guy that got killed, it's like you gotta have some awareness that whenever some guy gets killed and you're like, yeah, but he didn't like me, so he was crazy, and yeah, it is what it is. That's too bad. That's what happens when you don't like me. Like, you've got to have some level of self-awareness that you're just kicking yourself in the
We'll
dick.
consider
Nobody's
it.
going to agree. There
Exotics
are a
have
lot of
been
opinions. How
unveiled
about
by our
BI? There's a lot of
scholars.
opinions I
Planet
have
item
that I
ready.
don't share
Exotics
because
have
I
been
know
unveiled by our scholars.
everybody's going to think I'm
Civilian
nuts.
structure complete.
So you should just
All
stop
power
doing
to
it.
jump
Stop
drive.
saying it. I don't know what this
Harmony
is.
research complete.
And the people who refuse to condemn Candace's truly vicious attacks, and some of them are speaking here, are guilty
Glory to
of
the
cowardice.
unity.
Our
Yes,
forces have
cowardice.
engaged the enemy.
Victory is at hand. Glory to the unity.
The fact that they have said nothing
for
while Candace
mercy.
has been vomiting all sorts of hideous and conspiratorial nonsense into the public
Our
square for
vengeance
years
is
is
yours.
just as cowardly.
Mining upgrade complete.
Ben Shapiro
Is it time?
is arguing for censorship,
wish.
not argument. That's the reason why I think that
Our
his
vengeance is
perspective
yours.
on these things
Your
isn't going
presence
very
is
well.
strong.
Is because he's not arguing that,
Our vengeance
you know,
is
she's
yours.
wrong necessarily.
Victory
He's
is at
arguing
hand.
that people shouldn't
We'll
talk to her.
consider it.
And this is the same with Nick. That's the main thing that's happening.
Civilian structure complete.
He was bullied in high school? I don't know. I have no idea. Cowards didn't admit the USS Liberty was a mistake. I mean, I don't know whether. I mean, I think that it's
Your
very clear
presence
that
is
the person
strong.
asking that is,
Our will
you know,
shall be
let me see if
done.
there's any more about the stuff from
Victory
Tucker
is at
Carlson
hand.
or anything else.
Planet
Because
item
apparently this is what
ready.
moral clarity
Beg
looks
for our
like. And so a lot of
forgiveness.
people are very positive about it.
Last chance
But,
to
you know, at least from
surrender.
his own people.
Hostility
Oh, here we go.
research tier complete.
Thank you very much.
Man.
Thank you.
That's a lot of people there. Holy shit. I didn't know this was so big.
Thank you. Walking out is always such a trip at these things.
You
I
missed out.
I just got here and I feel like I missed the first part of the program. Hope I didn't miss anything meaningful. But I just want to say, I don't think I did.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I watched it. I laughed. I laughed. That kind of bitter, sardonic laugh
I will
that
deliver
emerges
your
from
order
you when like
personally.
upside down world arrives.
is undeniable.
When your dog starts doing your taxes and you're like, wait, it's not supposed to work this way. To hear calls for like deplatforming and denouncing people at a Charlie Kirk event, I'm like, what?
Research
This is
complete.
hilarious. Yeah, this is hilarious. Actually, one of the clips I was listening to myself, thinking as I often
Ho's
do when I
mad.
hear myself speak, which is never, because I never watch myself, but at
Hostility
these events
research
I do play like
complete.
the role of you.
Comms upgrade
And
complete.
I'm like, that guy is pompous. Woo!
Yeah.
Sorry about that. We don't see ourselves clearly. But the prediction that, you know, at some point when Republicans took power again, which I did everything I could, you know, to help, and I really felt that was important. I still think, you know, I was right. But I really thought that the impulse to deplatform people, or even to use the word platform as a verb, which it's not, it's a noun, don't steal
I like this. Yes, the entire concept of platforming this is ridiculous. I think
The
that
animal
the
are
only
restless.
things that you shouldn't be
Our will
platforming
shall
are
be
threats
done.
and doxing. Other than that, go ahead.
announce, deplatform, and denounce. Why haven't you denounced somebody else? The whole like Red Guard
Hostility
Cultural Revolution
research
thing
complete.
that we so hated and feared
Our
on the
vengeance
left
is yours.
that we did everything we could to usher in a new time where you could have an actual debate. I mean, this kind of was the whole point of Charlie Kirk's public life.
Yeah.
And I think that he died for it. I really believe that. And I know a lot about
He
it
obviously
because
did.
the
Must
last
be
several
conducted
months of
first.
Charlie's life were devoted in part to arguing about this event, in fact, this speech, in fact, my speech here, which he asked me to do earlier this year, this summer, and was immediately put under just immense pressure from people who give money to Turning Point. I would assume good
People, I mean, nobody, I'm not going to say the country of the people that they're from, or, you know, it's just people. I'm sure some of them are good people. They apparently give money to the organization. I mean, you know, there were just certain people. I'm not going to say the race of the doctor.
Another planet joins the Unity.
people, but who wanted him to take me off the
We'll
roster.
consider it.
And this has all become public, and the whole thing is so sad that I never
Yes.
talk about it, except to say Charlie stood firm in his often stated and deeply held belief that people should be able to debate, and that if you have
course.
something valid to say, if you're telling the truth, you ought to be able to explain it calmly.
And if you're lying, you better be able to explain that too. Because there's plenty of lying retards out there. You got to deal with them.
And in detail to people who don't agree with you, and that you shouldn't immediately resort to shut up racist.
Our vengeance is
Exactly.
yours.
He's right. That shit does not work anymore. It is over. It's done. It's finished. Here we go.
All power to jump drive.
See, we had the, like you guys saw how I structured this, right? We had the moderate disagreeers, and then we had Ben Shapiro, and then we had Tucker Carlson, who was a
More
little bit less
credits are
moderate.
required.
And now we're going to have
Comms
Candace
upgrade
Owens, and
complete.
guess who we're going to finish
Planet
with?
item ready. Hostility research complete.
I planned this whole thing out.
when Candace Owens says, I don't know, but I know,
Harmony research
that
complete.
is retarded. And we are all more retarded for having heard it.
Damn.
Well, Ben, when it comes
Your
to you
presence is
and having
strong.
worked
You're
with you,
retarded.
I just know.
You've made a
I just know
wise
the tactics that you use to feign popularity in the public. I just know the amount of money that you are willing to spend on advertising.
I've got to say, W to Ben Shapiro, bringing it back. We're going to bring them all back. They're all coming back. Retarded is the beginning, but it's not the end.
to inflate your numbers so
Thank
people
God.
think that you're popular. So
Wait, what?
no. I just know the tactics that you use to feign popularity in the public. I just know the amount of money that you are willing to spend on advertising to
The
inflate your
enema are
numbers to make people
restless.
think that you're popular.
So, did the check not clear or something?
Our forces have engaged the enemy.
Huh.
So, yeah,
Glory to the
I don't
unity.
have to say we don't know no when it comes to you. You are
Yeah.
such
Your
a joke
presence
of a
is
little man.
strong.
Your jealousy against
Exotics
Tucker,
have been
your
unveiled
ability
by
to
our
believe that you
scribes.
can keep
Planet
manipulating the
item
markets.
ready.
You know those kids
Exotics
booed you
have
on
been
that stage. The amount
unveiled
of
by our
messages I got from
scribes.
Turning Point USA
All
people
shall join
saying
the
what's
unity
happening,
in
why is he on
time.
this stage, standing against
Glory to the unity.
everything that Charlie believed in. That's what you're doing. You're standing against everything that Charlie believed in.
I think it's okay to have
Victory is at
Ben Shapiro up on the
hand.
stage. I think you should have everybody up on the stage, even if you think they're nuts.
We answer
If
the
they've got a
call.
voice and there's a lot of people that are listening
As
to
you
them, then they
wish.
deserve a spot on the stage.
The
And
anima are
that's what I
He
do.
didn't
restless.
like you for that very reason.
He didn't like
Mining
you.
Look
upgrade
at you, and I just
complete.
think you are such a little worm. He didn't like you for that very reason. Look
Any
at you, and I
last
just think you are
words?
She's taking-
such a little worm.
She's taking him right back to high school.
Exotics
Right
have been
back to
unveiled by our scribers. Hostility research
I can see you
complete.
right now,
What's
probably.
on your mind?
What can we get out to
I
her?
am the
Yeah.
We're gonna
unity's
sue her into
servant.
bankruptcy again,
No.
right? Sue her for every infraction, every word that I don't like, and every time my feelings are hurt. Because what you really believe in is Baal Berith.
Your
That's what
presence is
your
strong.
people believe in. You
Your
believe that
people.
you are
We
contract
answer the
lords
call.
and that people are not allowed to violate a contract, so you will ruin them
Yours.
for years.
Our will
Fire
shall be
someone
done.
and you effectively
time?
stalk and harass them for years after.
Strike.
I'm here to let you know that I'm done with it. I am done with it. This one is so fully off of the mother effing plantation. Truly, Ben Shapiro, fuck you and the midget horse that you rode in on.
Did she just say that she's off the plantation and then say that he rode in on a midget horse?
I am done with it. This one is so fully off of the mother effing plantation. Truly, Ben Shapiro, fuck you and the midget horse that you rode in on.
Oh my God.
And I say that on behalf of the world. I know
Oh!
you're going to get applauded by Konstantin Kisin and Andrew Christ is King Clavin and all of the people, the men who have to keep applauding what you do like you're a
research
4-year-old to make you feel good. But the rest of the
Mining
world can't
upgrade
stand you.
complete.
Wow.
You're
Your
obnoxious.
presence
You
is
have
strong.
absolutely
Our
no
vengeance
values
is
that exist
yours.
outside of the Talmud.
The
You describe yourself as a
unity
Talmudic
cleanses
Jew.
all.
And I've learned what's
The
in that
anima are
Talmud, and I
restless.
encourage other people at
Another
home
planet
to learn
joins the
what is in
unity.
that Talmud so that you know what
Speak
Ben
your
thinks of you, because he
mind.
doesn't just hate me, he hates you too, white men.
Your
he hates all
presence
black
is
people,
strong.
okay? If he's
Speak
following
your
the rules of the
mind.
Talmud, I mean, when I say hates, they think that we're animals, that they have a right to own us, that they have a right to make us worship them, that they have a right to lie to us, that they have a right to sue us and take everything that we have, that they have a right to deceive us, that they have a right to treat Charlie the way that he treated
The
Charlie while he was
fleet
alive,
embraces new vessels.
only to then try to defraud the
Say no
population into
more.
thinking that he is
What's on your
somehow a
mind?
part
It's in the
of his
book?
legacy.
Is it?
That he somehow cared about Charlie Kirk and cares to protect the people that are working at
Hostility
Turning Point
research
USA.
complete. Exotics have
Goodbye,
been
Ben.
unveiled by our scribes.
Goodbye, Ben. Wow.
Bye. Question is, how much more?
Me Schindler's List. I'm done watching Schindler's List. I know, I get it. Goodbye, Jews. Goodbye, Jews. Goodbye, Jews. I get it. I get it. I get it.
Have been unveiled by our scryers. Harmony research tier complete.
Wow.
Goodbye, Ben. Goodbye. Question is, how much
Logistics
more
are
money is Ben
complete.
Shapiro going to spend to make people
How
think that
about
he's
that?
popular? How many more
will
articles
shall be
is his
done.
father going to write under a pen name, Hank Berrien, not the Daily
Enema are
Wire, under the
restless.
pen name Hank
We'll
Berrien,
consider it.
as he wrote while Ben was at Breitbart, before he turned his back and betrayed them too, because that is his nature.
Yeah.
One of these belly creatures, sliver on.
A belly creature? Like a snake.
The question is, how many more weeks and years do we have to keep pretending like Ben Shapiro is relevant?
Wow. Damn. Damn. Oh my God. Fuck you and the midget horse you ran in on. Such a little horse.
Fuck you and the midget horse that you rode in on. And I say that on behalf of the world. And truly, Ben Shapiro, fuck you and the midget horse that you rode in on. And I say that on behalf of the world.
Oh my God. Well, there we go, guys. And let's see, is this...
With it. This one is so fully...
is this...
Before he turned his back and betrayed them too, because that is his nature. One of these belly creatures.
It's his nature. Oh my God. Okay. So
Commerce
anyway,
upgrade
he got
complete.
pretty mad that he called her
Planet item
retarded.
ready.
I guess she did. And so now we have the last boss.
Hostility research
It's
complete.
actually crazy how much the sentiment around Ben Shapiro has changed in like 1 year.
The Levins, the Wexlers, we're just laughing in your face.
Civilian
We're not
structure
listening.
complete.
You're Jewish, you're pro-Israel. The Levins, the Wexlers, we're just laughing in your
Research
face. We're not
complete.
listening.
Civilian structure
You're
complete.
Jewish, you're pro-Israel, and you're fucking cringe. Suffice to say, we're not listening anymore.
Damn.
You had your chance.
All power to jump drive.
You had goodwill. You even had censorship and all sorts of other
Civilian structure
built-in advantages
complete.
in the media market, and you blew it.
Man.
With your disingenuousness, with your omissions and your lies, your hypocrisy, your cancel
Our
culture, you
forces
blew it.
have engaged the enemy.
Think about the advantage that they had. A guy like Ben Shapiro, he
Beg
had
for
no
our
rivals.
forgiveness.
And Tucker
Any
pointed
last
this out.
words?
Shapiro has a deal
Hostility
with
research
Facebook.
complete.
I imagine
What?
he has a deal with YouTube. So,
Commerce
well,
upgrade complete.
I don't know if that's about, like, I know other people have deals, like, just because, you know, I do streaming. Like, that might not be as much of a condemnation as you might imagine.
everybody was being censored by Facebook and YouTube, Shapiro was being promoted.
Well,
do you know what a good deal
Planet
that
item
is?
ready.
That would be like if you went into business
Another planet
selling
joins the
hamburgers
unity.
and the government said,
minds
we're going to
awaken.
subsidize.
I think that
Our
that's
will
true,
shall
that
be
Ben
done.
Shapiro was, during like the woke era, the safe conservative voice that a lot of people would go with. He was it was kind of like he was like Creed in like the year 2002.
Burger King and McDonald's is not allowed to obtain a business
safe
license.
choice.
That's the deal that Daily Wire had going. They were like the #2 advertiser on Facebook for a decade.
Wow.
Or something like that. The
Hostility
#2
research complete.
most prolific
Our
ad
vengeance
buyer on the
is
platform.
yours.
Meanwhile,
Jesus.
and that's
Is
the
that
biggest
true?
platform. Everybody else was banned.
Wow.
Exotics have
And for
been
10
unveiled
years,
by
they
our
were the
scholars.
beneficiary
Commerce
of cancel
upgrade
culture
complete.
and all those other structural benefits. And what they did with that is they just abused the good faith
All
and the
power to
goodwill of
jump
the
drive.
people. They showed their hand,
Planet
which is they
item
don't
ready.
care about Americans. They only care about Israel. They were hypocrites. They lied. They were disingenuous. If anybody was critical of their position, they were dismissive or they tried to destroy that person,
Exotics
like myself.
have been unveiled by our
That did happen.
scholars.
And I said on Twitter earlier tonight, I said, Ben
Our
Shapiro's
forces
finished.
have engaged the
You're
enemy.
done, little man.
Any last words? Destiny unfolds.
I think it might just be over.
Exotics have been unveiled
I'm
by
gonna
our
be
scholars.
honest. Like, I think it
Civilian
might
structure
be
complete.
just over.
Another planet joins the Unity.
Oh my God. Done. Yes. Jesus, man.
Person like myself. And I said on Twitter earlier tonight, I said, Ben Shapiro's finished. You're done, little man. America has had enough of Ben Shapiro. We see you for what you are. And now we're done with you. Americans are not listening to you. We don't care what you have to say because we know that you don't care about us. So you have contempt for us. And honestly, at this point, the feeling is mutual.
I think that's a pretty fair sentiment that a lot of people have, especially to the extent that Ben Shapiro has represented Israel's interests a lot.
So, I saw today he had another great clip defending H-1B visas. Nice. So the message from the Shapiro and Levin crowd is 50-year mortgages. If you can't afford to buy a home in the city you grew up in, then you should leave. H-1B visas, which is a scam for cheap foreign labor, are actually necessary. Oh, and if anybody...
What's crazy is that H-1B take that he has used to be the Democrat take. That's what's nuts.
Criticizes Israel, they're a Nazi, and they need to shut up, and we're going to war with Iran.
Commerce upgrade complete.
That's a really winning message.
Planet item ready.
Unfortunately for them, now we have free speech on the internet, so there's other people around that can challenge that.
I think he's right. I think he's right. The only reason why that viewpoint and that value system existed is because nobody was allowed to challenge it. And now that there are no gatekeepers and there's nobody else that's able to...
Is it time?
There's no... I mean, shit. Anybody can post whatever they want, right? And so there you go. Average Elon W. I think it's a big reason. Don't have free speech on the internet, not at least everywhere. I know that, but we have it somewhere. And having it somewhere is enough. That's enough.
Civilian structure
CNN,
complete.
I know. Investigates the rise of extremism in the United States. Oh. So if he says that, everybody knows.
Your presence is strong.
Everybody fucking knows. Okay, so let me see if I can find a few more of these if it's worth looking at. But yeah, where is it here? Unstoppable. Charlie Kirk was an MLK.
Your presence is strong.
And the whites were quick to say this. They said, Charlie Kirk is this generation's Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
No, he's not. Yeah, that's a reach.
Any last words?
You know, they both got
I think people go way too far with this, right? They do.
Very
I feel like
wise.
it's obviously it was terrible what happened to Charlie Kirk,
presence is
but
strong.
he's not
Civilian
Martin Luther
structure
King. I mean,
complete.
obviously, right? It's just like, but I think that really it wasn't even Charlie Kirk getting
Speak
killed
your
that was the big
mind.
deal to me. It was the fact that so many
Antimatter
people
supply is
seemingly supported
diminished.
it. That was the
The
big
anima are
problem.
restless.
Like, you're going to have political violence.
Another
You always have
planet
political
joins the
violence. That's just
unity.
life. But at the same time, especially if you're a very controversial person, you've got to remember Martin Luther King also got killed. So did Malcolm
We'll
X.
consider it.
Like, so did, I think Gandhi did too, right? It's very, very common.
Civilian
And they
structure
both got
complete.
shot in the neck, but that's about where those
Exotics have been
similarities end.
unveiled by our scholars.
Because Charlie Kirk is a motherfucking internet personality. No, by design. Fundamentally, he can't function like Dr. King. Internet niggas are negative because they have to be.
You've made a wise
Because nobody will
acquisition.
engage them unless they say shit that makes them upset.
That's me on Twitter.
That's Charlie Kirk. Could you imagine Dr. King was behaving like Charlie Kirk? Smash that
Hostility
like button and
research
subscribe. Follow me for more content like this.
You know the funny thing
Commerce
is that
upgrade complete.
I bet people like Martin Luther King would be
vengeance
doing
is
that
yours.
nowadays. I bet they would be because it's a pragmatic, good idea. Yep.
I
bet he would be.
believe all black people should be free. Change my mind.
Yep. No, I think Dave should, I think he's being too harsh on Charlie Kirk. I do. Like, yeah, obviously he's not Martin Luther King. He's very obviously not Martin Luther King. But I still think he did some good. And I feel like Charlie Kirk actually uniquely started that whole Turning Point USA thing and everything else. I think that's really impressive. I've seen a lot of clips. There's people that are fighting. Let me finish if I can find it. It's not a, this is the last one I'm going to watch.
You know, and Bill Maher, the
Bill Maher.
comedian. I've known Bill since I was like 18, 19 years
Yeah.
old. And I've never said this publicly, but fuck that guy.
Glory to the unity.
I'm so fucking tired of this little smug, cracker-ass commentary.
We answer the call.
I think
without delay.
These mother...
I am the unity's servant.
Bill isn't a cracker. He's Jewish. He's a Jew.
Commencing phase jump.
Like that's
Your
different.
presence is strong.
It's different. This is you're using the wrong one.
Enable our revenge.
He is. He's using the wrong one. Don't say it. I mean, there's other words you could use. It's the wrong
What does the
slur.
unity will?
Fuckers act like because I did a comedy festival in Saudi
Yeah.
Arabia, I somehow betrayed my...
Oh, this is it. So he's mad about the Saudi
Victory
Arabia
is at
thing.
hand.
Yeah, I don't know what the whole fucking disagreement is. I have no idea.
Glory
But
to the
anyway,
unity.
so yeah. And he's a Jew. Yeah, Bill Maher's a Jew. Did you know that? And so Jews are census-wide in America. I feel like there's clearly like a difference. It's weird because like in some ways that they are, some ways they're not in terms of like how they're counted. So it depends, right? It's like a self-identify. I think that like functionally they're white, but a lot of them don't identify as white. It's kind of like a gray area. But yeah, finish the clip.
Beg for our forgiveness.
No, I already watched this clip. This is going to be about him.
Everybody calm down. Rest in peace, Jamal Khashoggi.
Yeah, we already saw this. Yeah, we already saw this whole thing.
What does the unity
And
will?
I love using the wrong insult.
We're
Yes, no, it isn't. But
considerate.
his mom was, but he isn't into it. Yeah, but I mean, like that's enough for people to think that, right? It's pretty simple. But anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Kentucky just snapped. Uh-oh. Here we go.
What happens when you have anti-ICE protesters from deep blue Cincinnati wander across a bridge into deep red Kentucky?
Ooh, bro, they went to the PvP
Last
server.
chance to surrender.
Big mistake. Big mistake.
Is
Shouldn't
it
do
time?
Finally get to see the FAFO scale in action
Oh.
as these activists block the rolling bridge between Ohio and Kentucky. And while Cincinnati PD is gently arresting these people.
Yep. We got ourselves a 2%er here. That's right.
While protesting, Kentucky's Covington police immediately laid down the law.
They got paintball guns.
Insufficient metal.
Damn. They're just getting dragged away.
Now, one copper started landing haymakers on a protester in a Cincinnati Reds cap, while
Just beat the fucking shit out of them. Good. You resisting arrest? You're trying to cause problems?
Hostility research complete.
lady
The anima are
attacked the
restless.
cops with her
Our
tactical
will
slipper.
shall be done.
Oh my god.
Her tactical slipper, as the K-9 cops were finally deployed.
Oh shit.
Now,
They
what's
got the
interesting is how
build
Kentucky
bridges, not walls. Is the irony not lost on them when they're creating a wall of people? You understand that, right?
Logistics upgrade
You're
complete.
against building, like,
Planet
so
item
you're
ready.
standing on a bridge, you're obstructing a bridge by building a wall, holding a sign to build bridges and not wall. Like, this is the kind of shit that makes me think that we're living inside of a simulation.
Your presence is strong.
News media reported on the arrests versus how the liberal media highlights
Kentucky
the
cops beat protesters. Good.
Kentucky cops that beat protesters, simply demonstrating.
By the way, my viewpoint is that if you are in the street, I think the cops should be able to drag your fucking ass off the
Hostility
street.
research tier
You need to
complete.
get off the street. You're trying to obstruct traffic. I don't care. if some like I don't think you could make it legal to run people over,
Scryers
but I
have
certainly
located a
wouldn't give
divine
a fuck.
artifact.
Sorry,
Behold its power.
just don't do it.
Exotics have
Get
been
out of the
unveiled
road.
by our scryers.
With
Our
extreme
vengeance
force, yeah,
is
I don't care about
yours.
that at all. It's a safety issue, absolutely. Florida did, yeah, exactly. Fucking based. Florida made that legal,
All
yeah, you can just
power
run
to
them over.
jump drive.
Mining
And you know what they
upgrade
don't do in
complete.
Florida, by the way?
Civilian structure
They don't stand in
complete.
front of the street.
Against the ICE arrest
Our
of a
forces have
hospital
engaged the
chaplain,
enemy.
with Cincinnati's local outlet sensationalizing it.
This is our country. Why are we being beat up because we're doing a peaceful march?
Story I'm getting.
Civilian structure complete.
Beg for our forgiveness.
That's crazy, right? How is it that how is it that this is what it must
Last
feel like to be
chance
racist?
To surrender.
Because like I'm so validated all the time, over and over and over. This is the only form of
Civilian
racism that I can
structure
participate in.
Exotics
For
have
now.
been unveiled by our scryers.
Why are we being beat up because we're doing a peaceful march?
Story I'm getting. is
Shut
they
up,
peacefully
bitch.
The
showing
anima are
protest,
restless.
and then somebody came down here in a
Another
car
planet joins the
and
Unity.
antagonized them, and there was a confrontation between that
We'll
driver
consider
and
it.
the protesters.
He said, I'm American, and he just threw me down on the ground. I am 70 years old. This is my country.
This is possibly the
Shut up, Karen. Go back to the nursing
Our
home.
vengeance is yours.
Get out of the street, bitch.
greatest illustration
Civilian
of culture
structure
clash,
complete.
as plenty of liberal places would simply allow activists to block a bridge. But
Yep.
Kentucky is showing them this
Hostility research
renaissance
complete.
of justice,
Mining
as they're
upgrade
simply
complete.
bewildered at the idea that they will be forcefully arrested when
Yep.
taking over our infrastructure. As Cincinnati's local outlet covers a story
I love it.
reporting how 13 were
Your
arrested by
presence is
Kentucky's
strong.
police for rioting.
Exotics have been
Riot in the
unveiled by our
first degree,
scryers.
unlawful
Our
assembly,
will
failure
is
to disperse,
transcendent.
obstructing a highway,
Civilian structure
obstructing
complete.
emergency responders, criminal mischief, disorderly conduct, and resisting arrest. Bro. See, this is why I'm telling you guys, we need to make sure that we have these prison work programs set
All
up.
power to
We've
jump
got to get
drive.
that guy from El
Planet
Salvador
item
over to
ready.
America and figure out how he gets all of them to get to work. And we need to do the same thing to
Our
them.
forces have engaged the enemy.
amongst other things.
Throw the book at him,
But
yeah.
framing it
Forgiveness.
with a car
A
antagonized the
black SUV was seen driving the wrong way down
What
the
does
bridge.
the unity
Rallies.
will?
Okay,
We'll
please state
consider
that some
it.
protesters block the bridge while others
Civilian
march.
structure complete.
peaceful protesters.
Our
Imagine
thoughts
you're
are
just trying to
one.
get to work,
Another
and the
planet
unemployed
joins
hordes
the
with nothing to
Unity.
do on a weekday
Harmony
afternoon
research complete.
start pounding on your vehicle while waving some other country's flag that has
Welcome to California. Yeah, I totally don't give a shit if people run them over. I don't. Sorry.
absolutely nothing to do
The
with
anima
what they're
are
protesting,
restless.
as these
Mining
activists are
upgrade
allegedly
complete.
angry over a Cincinnati children's
Civilian
chaplain being
structure
arrested
complete.
after he recently lost his
Vengeance
asylum
is a
status in
cruel
America,
justice.
as back in 2022, he filed a lawsuit over the feds flagging him after applying for a job in an Oregon prison.
Uh-oh.
Now
Planet
facing
item ready.
deportation, they claim his life is in danger
Harmony
if sent back
research
to Egypt,
complete.
which they're
Your
already
presence is strong.
Shouldn't have been here.
accommodating for this by sending people to third-party countries.
Yep.
As one, I really wonder if he was given the option of the South Sudan or El Salvador, would he suddenly change his mind and prefer
Probably
to go
not.
home? And two, they keep framing him as this children's chaplain wrongfully losing his asylum status, but you really have to search to find out why he lost it. As even
Why did he lose it?
NPR's network reports on his case, stating it's over his time on the board of an Egyptian community organization that has ties with an organization that their own government classifies as a terror group, to which he
No way.
We are exiles no longer.
No way.
Hostility
Wow.
research complete.
Supporting terrorists
Research
again.
rate
Get them
upgrade
out, bro.
complete.
They got to get rid of these people. Oh my God. They got to get rid of all of them.
openly admitted his affiliation with on his application.
I think that people
Our
don't
will
understand
shall be
if they
done.
actually had like an open recruiting for like ICE to just go and fucking get rid of all these people, they would be like the website would be shut down by the amount of people trying to apply.
But now the response is that group has been ubiquitous in many aspects of the country's civic life. As honestly, I have no idea how that clears his name, other than possibly the most important aspect of this case is being conveniently omitted.
Isn't it weird how all of these people just somehow end up on the side of supporting militant Islamic terrorist
Your
groups?
presence
How does
is
that keep
strong.
happening?
Our
What
will
are the
shall be
odds?
done.
I feel like they're like 100%. To be fair, the Egyptian government would call Shu a terrorist organization. It was facing away from the government. Not our problem. Not our problem, not our issue. I do not want to import Middle Eastern problems and Middle Eastern conflicts to America. I don't want to deal with that. And I don't think that the Middle East wants us to import our problems over to the Middle East either.
All power to Jump Drive.
Most of the reporting, as why do all the headlines say children's chaplain, but nothing about the possible ties to terror attempting to get a position inside our prison system? Now I understand their argument. They're framing this as a very loose connection to that organization. And for all we know, this could be true. But it honestly feels like the activist issue isn't with US policy regarding terror, but Egypt's classification of that organization. So why aren't they protesting bridges in Egypt? Or is this yet another example of activists marching on behalf of something they know little to nothing about? But at least
I wonder. I really wonder. What could it possibly be?
Kentucky isn't playing around, as some of the felonies were
Not too far. It's a shame. Amazing when you know what I'm talking about.
Another
What am I?
joins the Unity.
The anima are
What do I
restless.
not know about with this?
We'll consider it.
Let me get just a second. You're so limited in my knowledge of this. Here, let me explain what I think. Anybody who has any connection with any of these weird terrorist groups at all, I think should be instantly deported if they're not a United States citizen with no restrictions at all. If you have a connection with one of these groups, I want you removed from the country, period. I don't care what the fine
Your
print
presence
is.
is
I don't
strong.
care what the rules are.
What needs
Change the rules
revealing?
to make that the policy. That we do not need to import these people. These people are problems. And also, maybe not all of them are problems, but enough of them
My
are
path
problems
is
to where it
clear.
creates an issue
Your
for everybody.
presence is strong.
Yeah, I'm not interested in allowing
Primary
anybody in
research
here
complete.
at all. Your worldview of Muslims and Arabs is limited. What about this has to do with Muslims or Arabs? It has nothing. I would say the same thing about people in Africa
to
or
Jump
people in
Drive.
South America or people in Asia. It has nothing to do with Muslims or Arabs.
Commerce
Like
upgrade
that's
complete.
not even the point.
Planet
The
item
point
ready.
is that this is
We
a
are
person that's
exiles
coming
no
into the
longer.
country that could potentially have a problematic past or a
Last
problematic
chance
involvement.
to
Why would I
surrender.
want them in the country?
Our forces have engaged the enemy.
I
Beg for
don't.
our
What does this have to
forgiveness.
do? Like, I don't even get
Last
this.
chance to surrender.
Please bring it up. I'm Egyptian. I know how it
Any
is.
last
I don't know
words?
what it is at all. You mentioned Islamic terrorism. Okay,
Beg for our
so
forgiveness.
Hezbollah is an Islamic terrorist organization.
Last chance to
Hamas
surrender.
is an Islamic terrorist
Exotics
organization.
have been unveiled by our scholars.
I'm trying to.
Hostility research
There's another
complete.
third one that starts with an H. Why am I not thinking of it? There's another one as well, right? The Houthis are an Islamic terrorist organization. There are Islamic terrorist organizations.
the unity
They do
will?
exist. Did I say that every terrorist
So shall it
organization is
be.
Islamic? No, of course not, because
The
that's not
anima are
true.
restless.
Why would anybody say that? It's
Any
not
last
true.
words?
So the entire idea, you're putting words in my mouth, getting
will
mad at me
is
because I'm
transcendent.
calling this out
Commerce
as a
upgrade
specific
complete.
thing. I read
Any
what it
last
said.
words?
That's what they said it
Beg
was.
for our
I'm not
forgiveness.
making a judgment on this. They are. So if you're getting mad at me for this, go ahead and get mad at them. Now, ISIS, Taliban, yeah, you're. This is just so obnoxious. So obnoxious. Putting words in my mouth, getting mad at me for something I didn't say. It's so
Last
annoying.
chance to surrender.
The context is Islamic terrorism because of this guy? Yeah. I've never been like this. And also, by the way, there's a lot of people that are Muslim, as far as I know, in Egypt.
Planet item ready.
The ironic thing about this thing is that, do you know which countries do the best job dealing with Islamic terrorism? The Islamic countries over there. The problem is that
Primary
over in the
research
United
complete.
States and in Europe, I think that people view any type of criticism of it as some degree of racism, so they're afraid to look at it. And they even say that. There's even a guy from like UAE that said that himself. Is Muslim country under Sharia? Yeah, it's a black person that agrees. He's being rude. Calling me stupid and saying he was making a patronizing comment that was based off of something that I didn't say or even imply.
You've made a wise acquisition.
And you're making, like, there's no, like, again, I have no problem with somebody putting a disagreement in chat, but just saying you're stupid and you don't know what you're talking about, and then explaining yourself and what you're explaining isn't even true. No, that's going to get you a ban. Sorry.
Civilian structure complete.
Dropped, but mainly due to guilty pleas on the misdemeanor charges, with 4 still facing felony riot convictions. As their defense attorney is arguing at one point, this was a peaceful assembly, but the Kentucky judge just got frustrated, stating this was a riot, as 5+ people gathered with violent behavior, attacking the police. The simple fact
you just look at the video, it's clearly not a peaceful. If you're standing in the road, it's not peaceful.
Complete.
It's that simple. If you're obstructing people's freedom of movement, it's not peaceful. It's literally that simple.
This case hasn't been thrown out makes me believe they're about to find out. It really looks like Kentucky's justice system is trying to set the precedence of just because you're angry over something beyond your understanding doesn't mean you get to throw a temper tantrum blocking our public streets. As it's
even if you do understand it, it doesn't mean that you can block streets. That's the issue. What do you think of the idea of self-deporting illegals with clean pass having a streamlined way back into the country? I don't want to give anybody that was here illegally any sort of a benefit because I think it creates a reward structure around bad behavior. But on a fundamental level, I would much rather have a lot of these hardworking illegals than the annoying, obnoxious Karens standing in the middle of the street. Like, that's my actual opinion.
Are restless.
I think that we all agree that many of those illegals like America a lot more than these annoying Karens. But it's a bad precedent, and we can't do that, obviously.
Sounds like a slippery slope, but there's a reason why in Florida, activists politely protest alligator Alcatraz from the safety of the side of the road.
Isn't that crazy?
Phase jump underway.
Look how well behaved they are.
Harmony
This is what
research
happens
complete.
whenever the threat of being run over exists.
Commerce upgrade complete.
You can easily make people do this. Yeah, we
Your
don't have to
presence is
live in a
strong.
chaotic society
Our will
ruled by
shall be
mentally ill
done.
people. There's a difference between protesting and civil
research
disobedience.
complete.
Civil
Hostility
disobedience is in
research
defiance of the
complete.
law, and idiots defy the law and call it protest. Well, the difference is that, well, here's real, like, you know, for example, like Rosa Parks sitting at the front of like a bus instead of the back of the bus. This was something that is like standing in the middle of a highway because you're mad that some person got deported by the federal government. There's not like a direct connection here. Whereas with Rosa Parks or sitting in diners or something else, there is a direct connection with this behavior.
Planet item
When
ready.
liberal Los Angeles, California
Can't even compare
loses
the two.
access to their freeways whenever the Democrats don't get their way.
Our
I've
forces
covered
have
this third world
engaged the
phenomenon
enemy.
for years now.
dare not
As sadly
stray
the
from our
only
path.
time the city sees
Our
law and
will
order is when
is
Trump deploys the
transcendent.
Marines, or when there was mass looting during the lockdowns and the National Guard had to be installed before it stopped. But let me know if you think Kentucky will actually lock up these so-called
sense
activists.
darkness
As some
all
people think a
around us.
felony conviction is
Our
too
thoughts
harsh,
are
but I think it isn't enough.
splintered.
I think if you ever get arrested
Defilers
for
encroach upon
activism,
us.
you should lose all
Harmony
access to
research
public
complete.
benefits, as a U.S. taxpayer shouldn't be subsidizing this unemployed behavior. And if you got time
I'm okay with people that
We
get the
dare not
benefits,
stray
but
from our
at the
path.
same time, like, I just don't want to see, like, I think that, again, like, you got to put these people in jail or something like that. Like, get these people out of society.
block a bridge on a Wednesday afternoon, you got time to get a regular job. Possibly on a farm. I heard a lot of them are hiring.
Yeah, I heard that too.
If you appreciate my concise, lighthearted commentary on the tragic status that is today's reality, subscribe to Decoy
It's
Voice.
crazy. I think that's so fucking funny, man. And I'm glad to see, I also think it's very funny that, like, in Florida, all of these people don't cause any problems because they know it won't actually fly there at all. And so that's really one of my biggest, that's one of my biggest complaints about this in general. There's the video right there. I'll give it a like. And I totally agree with what he's saying, by the way. I absolutely agree with it. And like, I think that, like, really, all you have to do is impose consequences and a degree of actual accountability, and all of this stuff immediately evaporates.
Tell us what to do.
Yeah, it totally evaporates and it goes away, and you're not going to have this problem ever.
Our vigil.
Harmony research complete.
Production of the item is complete. Our will is transcendent.
It's time for lefties losing it.
Complete.
Portland has been called the most socialist city in the US. It has a reputation as a place full of hard left lunatics. I can't imagine why. It's not like these lefties get together and just scream into the void once a week.
Research complete.
Our confidence wavers. All power to jump drive. Our shields are offline. Our minds awaken. Doubt clouds our thoughts.
To New York now, and here is United Methodist Church pastor Phil Phaneuf using a sermon to announce he's transitioning.
The best way to put this is that I'm not becoming a woman, I'm giving up pretending to be a man. Know that clothes are just fibers. They do not carry an anatomy with them. So to say that something's girls' clothes or boys' clothes, well, they don't come with a reproductive system.
Hostility research complete. Planet item ready.
So it will change my voice. It might go a tad higher. Pronouns, she, her.
Let's go to LA now, where protesters have been taking over roads and preventing people from getting to their flights. Just look at how much they care about ruining people's travel plans.
Our vengeance is yours.
Earlier this week, I brought you a disturbing clip of Jim Acosta in conversation with Rosie O'Donnell, and I say disturbing not just because of the wacky, delusional, downright loopy dialogue, but also because these two look far too much alike. And here is more of the same, more wacky, delusional, downright loopy dialogue between two lookalikes. This time, it's MSN Now anchor Rachel Maddow and soon-to-be unemployed late-night TV host Stephen Colbert. Listen as Maddow doubles down here on the Russian collusion hoax that she ran for years. She's not sorry for the lies and misinformation. She's back to pushing the same debunked narrative.
Our will shall be done.
The whole Putin and Trump thing that was so weird for all those years, which a lot of us reported on a lot at the time and got a lot of hassle for it. I'm just saying, it kind of seems like that's now paid off with the Kremlin actually running U.S. foreign policy through the president's doofus Gulf friend.
Yep, she really just said the Kremlin is running U.S. foreign policy. Just when you think she's hit rock bottom, she finds
our shields are offline.
And now we apparently have been captured by the Kremlin and work for Vladimir Putin. They've got a kleptocratic,
we await your command.
Sclerotic government run by a guy who's never going to leave until he dies. The idea that we work for him, that we work for them, is so humiliating, and is such an abject failure on the part of Trump in terms of his weakness. I don't know what Putin has on him, but he works for Putin. And it's an embarrassment to the
civilian structure complete.
What can you say? Utterly unhinged, fact-free, divorced from reality, paranoid fantasies that Stephen Colbert did not push back on once, not one bit. Now, the Democrats and their propagandists are desperate to claim that America has committed war crimes by eliminating a narco boat and narco-terrorist drug runners who were trying to bring in huge amounts of deadly drugs into the country. And they're persisting with this daft narrative, even as the New York Times, yes, the Trump-deranged New York Times, debunks the Washington Post kill everybody hoax. There was a claim that War Secretary Pete Hegseth gave a kill everybody order. But we still have the likes of MS Now putting to air Democrat operatives like this next character, Leon Panetta. This is the man who ran the CIA under Barack Obama. That was during Barack's first term, when he was droning people left, right and centre, including Americans. This is the guy that MS Now put to air for this sober analysis.
There is no lawyer that I'm aware of who indicates that that second strike is not a war crime. These were individuals in the water who were wounded.
Your presence is strong.
It is against the law to strike and kill those individuals. They did that. As far as I'm concerned, there is a war crime involved here, and it's for that reason that I think we need to hold people accountable.
And just to drive home how little credibility that character has, this is the same Leon Panetta who claimed with 50 other anti-Trump intelligence experts, they all claimed that Hunter Biden's laptop was a Russian plot, that it wasn't real. These characters deliberately influenced an election by putting their names to that outrageous lie. Joining me now is political advisor and commentator CJ Pearson. CJ, this is just the latest manufactured crisis we've seen, but as always, so many in the media are very excited about it and just running this uncritically.
You know, you're exactly right, Rita, and thank you so much for having me. And they're always excited to drag down this president and distract from the incredible and important work that he's doing every single day to deliver for the American people. Upon the mandate in which he was given when he was resoundingly elected to be president, not just with the popular vote, but the Electoral College as well. Here's the deal. When it comes to Texas actions as it relates to this particular issue, here's actually my case for it. I'm actually glad that we have a Secretary of War who is going to kill the narco-terrorists before they kill American citizens. This is not the winning issue that the left thinks that it is. These people have trafficked fentanyl into our country, killed our children, killed our daughters, killed our sons, and now we're supposed to just sit back with our hands tied behind our back because it upsets the proclivities and the sensitivities of those in the left. I'm sorry, I don't think the American people are going to go for that.
It does seem to be a bit of a losing issue. I don't know why they're going in so hard with this, because we are talking about drug traffickers and not small-scale drug traffickers, but we're talking large amounts that could potentially kill thousands of people. Now, let's discuss the cost of living, and here is CNN bringing some good news, and this must have hurt them.
Some states see gas prices below $3 for the first time in years. Let's get to CNN's Matt Egan for the good news on this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to finally be here with some good news on the cost of living front. So for the first time in 4.5 years, gas prices are averaging $3 a gallon nationally, according to AAA.
CJ, that report went on to say that there are 20 states across the country where the average price of gas is less than $2.75 a gallon. How big a deal is that? Is cost of living still a top-tier issue? Is it the top-tier issue?
You know, it's definitely a top-tier issue here in the States. You know, we're seeing that people don't only want to see and make America great again. They want to see America made affordable again. And President Trump is doing all that he can do to lead on that front. We're not only seeing, of course, gas prices go down. We also saw this past month the median price of rent go down as well. And so I think these things are incredible, steps in the right direction to ensure that the American dream remains within the grasp of, the American people. And I think that they're welcoming it. And also, too, it goes to show that we don't need socialism to actually right this ship. We don't need the vision of Zohran Mamdani to fix this problem. Capitalist solutions do work. Hard work policies do work. And I think that's exactly what we'll see more of from this president in the months and years to come.
Now, CJ, Democrats on the U.S. House Oversight Committee have released never-before-seen videos and images from Epstein's private island, Jeffrey Epstein's private island. And I have to say, CJ, the whole thing is rather creepy and depressing. It's stark scenery, ugly furniture. But it's quickly emerged after this footage was released that the Democrats who are demanding full transparency have again redacted information. And that is information and images that investigative journalist James O'Keefe had already released. Why are they doing this? They did this with the email release a couple of weeks ago.
they're redacting this information because it probably implicates them. If you look at all that footage, I would have to ask whether or not that footage actually came from Bill Clinton's Meta glasses, but I know they didn't have those back in the day. Because of course he had a first-hand view of everything that was going on that island because he was a frequent visitor to that island. And so, the Democrats have tried to milk this so-called scandal for all that it is. It's actually really unfortunate because it distracts from the real victims of Epstein's depraved actions. Those people deserve justice. And I think that Republicans and Democrats both agree on that front. But the way in which the Democrats have sought to politicize this issue, and they showed that they did not give a damn about it until this president was in office, tells you everything you need to know about their actual intentions and their sincerity when it comes to justice being brought for the victims of Epstein's terrible crimes.
CJ, we've been talking about the Trump administration cracking down on fraud in Minnesota, and we've also heard President Trump's damning comments about Democrat Ilhan Omar. Well, let's hear from the Congresswoman.
Always been a racist, a bigot, a xenophobic, and Islamophobic. We know that he called African nations a in his first administration. Most of us are citizens. On our passport, it says we are nationals of this country. We
are exiles no
that
longer.
Minnesota has welcomed us. Many of us have not been settled in Minnesota. We chose it as a home because the Minnesota people and the state is beautiful and very welcoming, and we are going to be here regardless of what the president has to say.
I almost thought for a second there she was going to say, we love this country. I think it's pretty clear that Ilhan Omar does not love America. But what do you think about the clash between her and Trump? And do you feel that those who have been granted asylum and a second chance at life in America have an obligation to be patriotic and at least be a little bit grateful to their new homeland?
I would definitely agree with that. You don't get to flee one country and try to turn our country into the third world country that you fled. It's just doesn't really make much sense to me as to why we would allow that as a part of government policy. But I'll tell you, I'm not surprised to see Ilhan Omar and President Trump on opposite sides of this issue and many other issues, because the inherent difference between the two of them is that our President Trump loves this country. She does not love this country. I couldn't readily actually recall any single moment when she has said anything glowing about the United States of America at any time. I could tell you when she said great things about Somalia, a country that she refuses to go back to, but I cannot tell you when she has ever said something about why America is great, why she should continue to be great, and I think that should tell you everything about her and her politics.
Now, CJ, there are reports that the Justice Department is close to a decision on whether to seek new indictments against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. A Democrat-appointed federal judge dismissed the cases against Comey and James on a technicality, but without prejudice, meaning these charges can be refiled.
You're exactly right, Rita. I'm so glad you brought up that point. The judge did not rule on the merits of this case in any way whatsoever. He did not rule on the guilt of James Comey. He did not rule on the guilt of Letitia James. And so these cases can be refiled and they can be seen in a new light. And so I hope that is exactly what the DOJ will do. I believe that is what will happen based on my conversation with those in the building. And the reason I think that's so important is I think it's important that we make the case that no one's above the law. It doesn't matter if you're Attorney General of New York or if you're the former FBI director, you will be held accountable if you break the law. And there's strong evidence to suggest that that's exactly what they did.
President Trump has been all about returning manufacturing back to America, and he plans to reset fuel efficiency standards for cars in an effort to boost manufacturing and lower prices. Let's hear from the president and then the Ford CEO, Jim Farley.
I won the auto workers vote, but now even the head of the auto workers said Trump is the greatest president we've ever seen. And he happens to be right about that.
We were number 2 last year in EV sales. We were number 3 in hybrid, and we're the leading brand for combustion. We believe that people should be able to make a choice, as you said, Mr. President, and we will invest more in affordable vehicles. This allows us to invest in affordable vehicles made in the U.S.
CJ, the previous rules under the Biden administration were all aimed about focused on lowering carbon emissions and putting upward pressure on car prices. So this is a fairly dramatic departure from those policies.
Yeah, you're exactly right, but it again underscores the president's commitment to making America affordable again. As the CEO of Ford just said, this is going to allow them to refocus their attention and reprioritize the importance of making affordable vehicles right here in America, which means more American jobs and more accessibility for these vehicles for everyday American consumers. And so, again, President Trump is delivering on the promises he made when he ran for president. This isn't a surprise to many people who I think are paying attention, but it's welcome news for many people who have felt the brunt of course, the record high inflation that we suffered under President Joe Biden. And I think it's welcome news all across the board from people in every corner of this country.
Before you go, I played footage earlier in the week of the White House Christmas decorations overseen by Melania Trump. And it's quite a contrast to what we've seen in recent years under the Biden administration, which featured some fairly bizarre decorations and performances. This year it's a dramatic departure, CJ. How do you see it? Do you miss the Biden colour and frivolity that we're seeing on one half of the screen?
Well, Rita, you know me. You know there's nothing I miss about Joe Biden in any way whatsoever. But what I'll tell you about this, when I look at these incredible decorations, what I see is that we're not saying Happy Holidays anymore. We're saying Merry Christmas. Christmas is back in the United States of America, and President Trump has played a key part in that along with our incredible first lady, Melania Trump as well.
Defense upgrade complete.
CJ Pearson, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Our forces have engaged the enemy.
Our vengeance is yours.
It's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's go to the Cannes Film Festival, where the uber rich and famous gather to congratulate themselves about how special, brave, humble and inclusive they are, and how they are at the forefront of fighting fascism. Here is a once great actor turned TDS sufferer, Robert De Niro.
Our vengeance
in my
is
country,
yours.
we're fighting like hell for the democracy
We are exiles no longer.
we once took for granted. And that affects all of us. That affects all of us here because the arts are democratic. Art is inclusive. It brings people together. Like tonight, art looks for truth. Art embraces diversity. And that's why art is a
maximum civilian orbit slots reached.
That's why we are a threat to autocrats and fascists.
Yes, the film industry is so inclusive, Robert. You actors have such a perfect moral compass with your sick, sordid personal lives. Did you notice global warming hysteria? Leonardo DiCaprio on stage there with De Niro, the dude who flies around the world in private jets and sails in massive yachts, but is really concerned about emissions. And as for being inclusive, well, the 50-year-old is not very inclusive of women over 25, not in his dating life anyway. But let's get back to Robert De Niro's mad rant. Here he lies with gay abandon.
America's Philistine president has had himself appointed head of one of our premier cultural institutions.
Done and dusted.
Cut funding and support to the arts, humanities, and education. All these attacks are unacceptable. And this isn't just an American problem.
We await your command.
It's a global one.
Your presence
like
is
a
strong.
Film, we can't just sit back and
vengeance
watch.
is yours.
We have to act, and we have to act now.
All power to jump drive.
We have to act. We have
your
to act
presence
now.
is strong.
Amazing that Donald Trump, the fascist dictator, allows De Niro to defame him so easily. Why isn't he arresting him, putting him in jail? Isn't that what dictators do?
The shields are offline.
What we were told would happen? Remember when De Niro and fellow TDS sufferer Bill Maher were saying before the election what would happen if Trump won?
Complete.
If he wins the election, you won't be on the show anymore. He'll come looking for me. There'll be things that happen that none of us can imagine. That's what happens in that kind of a dictatorship, which is what he says. let's believe him. Take him at his word.
I did from the beginning.
Yeah.
Your
I mean,
presence
I said
is
from the
strong.
very beginning, this guy is never going to concede power.
No, he hasn't conceded power. He's your president.
vengeance is
Weren't you
yours.
dining with him at the White House, Bill Maher? And somehow Robert De Niro is still not locked up.
We'll
Here's
consider
another
it.
lefty losing it, actor Ben Stiller, who also has crazy fever dreams about Trump coming after him.
The anima are
It's
restless.
impossible not to be aware of the fact that
Beg for our
people
forgiveness.
feel this, that, oh, wow, there can be retribution from the government if you say something wrong.
Your presence
and
is strong.
That's really scary. So just to even be thinking that way is, but, of course, I'm aware of it. I think everybody's aware of it.
Can someone tell Ben Stiller that it was the previous administration that went after
Production of the
grandmothers for
item is
posting funny
complete.
memes and
Military
sought to have
structure
school moms
complete.
concerned about trans indoctrination in classrooms, sought to have them
Any
labelled
last
domestic
words?
terrorists? All these clowns do is lie. If he was really genuinely worried about repercussions from the Trump administration, I can tell you Ben Stiller would be keeping his mouth shut. One thing you can say about Hollywood, they ain't brave. Here's
Defense
another
upgrade
actor,
complete.
Pedro Pascal, and when he's
Insufficient
not
metal.
signing letters accusing Israel of genocide, he's eager to tell you that being against the
Hostility
deportation of
research
illegal
complete.
immigrants means he's on the right side of history.
To be safe
Civilian
and to be
structure
protected.
complete.
And
Our will
and
shall
I
be
want very
done.
much to live on the right side of history. And I'm an
We
immigrant. My
are
parents
ready.
are refugees from Chile. I
Harmony
myself was a
research
refugee.
complete.
We fled a dictatorship, and I was privileged enough to grow up in the U.S.
You know, in a world of miserable, hysterical clowns like De Niro and Stiller, it pays to be a Jerry. Here is Jerry Seinfeld treating the loopy left with
The
the
anima are
disdain they
restless.
richly deserve.
Production of the item is complete.
You support the genocide of babies in Gaza. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. You, Jerry Seinfeld, you support the genocide of Palestinian children. You rabid.
All power to jump drive.
A colonizable planet has been discovered. Harmony research complete.
I love the kid blowing a kiss there at the end. You know who is much funnier than many of these triggered comics? It's
Military
45
structure
and 47.
complete.
Yes, POTUS was again cracking
Glory to
jokes
the
earlier
unity.
today, describing how he came to secure the Olympics for America after his 2016 election fight.
When I spoke to
Our
this gentleman,
forces have engaged the
who
enemy.
was, obviously Scandinavian, seriously Scandinavian, and very nice. I couldn't get him off the phone because he was so starved for love. He just kept, I must have had him for 2 hours. I couldn't. I said, sir, I have to go.
Our
I'm
vengeance
President-elect."
is yours.
Yes. All I said to him, yes, 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 we will take good care. They wanted to know
Your
that
presence
if they
is strong.
choose us for the Olympics,
We'll
will
consider it.
we treat them nicely? And I said, we're going to treat you like so well, like you've never been treated.
The anima are restless.
But it didn't stop at the Olympics. Trump also secured the
Harmony
World Cup
research
for America,
complete.
and because of
Our
the
vengeance is
2020
yours.
election shenanigans,
Cry
he'll
for
be
mercy.
president when both events take place.
And we got the World Cup. I got
Production
them both.
of the
I said,
item is complete.
I won't be president. I won't be. I got the Olympics and the World Cup, and I won't be president. And they're gonna forget that I got them. Nobody's gonna mention it because a little bit that's the way life is. And then they rigged the election. And then I said, you know what I'll do? I'll run again and I'll shove it up there.
Upgrade logistics to unlock more civilian
I
slots.
realized, I said, you know what? I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup, and I got the 250th. Look at the way this works out. So if they would have left us alone and wouldn't
Our
have cheated on
vengeance
the
is
election and wouldn't have
yours.
rigged it, I would have been retired right now. I would have been happily doing something else. And instead they have me for 4 more years. Can you believe it?
And when
The
it comes
shields
to
are
Trump,
offline.
we know that the
Hostility
opinion polls
research
always
complete.
understate
We
his
cannot
popularity,
survive
but the
without
polls
armor.
are nevertheless turning, and even CNN is forced to acknowledge that unhappy news. Unhappy for them.
I think it's time for a bit of a reality
A
check, right? We were
colonizable
going to
planet
late
has
April.
been discovered.
Donald Trump's approval rating, his net approval seemed to
Civilian
be
structure
falling. He
complete.
seemed to be adios amigos. People were writing his political obituary. He is rising from
Civilian
the
structure
dead.
complete. complete.
Hello, Trump's net approval rating among voters. This is the Reuters Ipsos polling.
Civilian
Look at this. In late
structure
April,
complete.
he was 8 points underwater.
Glory to the
But look at where he
unity.
was in the most recent poll among voters. He's up 7 points.
Let's bring in Sky News contributor Kosha Gator. Kosha, it's not just the Ipsos poll, as CNN noted in that segment. His approval rating is up across numerous polls, and you can kind of see why with the Middle East trip and some of these trade deals that have been struck.
He just is this ball of energy, and he doesn't stop. He's just getting one thing done after the other after what seems like 8 years of, or 4 years under Biden of just like nothing getting done. There's the contrast in there. His policy positions are very popular. They've always been popular. His personality is something that was always polarizing, and that shows through in these poll numbers. But now, even that gap seems to be closing, where the people who loved him still love him, and a lot of people who didn't love him, I think, do respect him, even if they don't admit it anymore, whether it's the assassination attempts or just the way he's approaching this role. All of that, I think, just coalesces into these poll numbers. They won't last forever, but he is certainly riding high.
Now to James Comey, who has gone on MSNBC to defend himself after he was questioned over what was seen as a threat to President Donald Trump.
Your presence is
He
strong.
posted this image saying 86-47. He claims he had no idea what those numbers meant.
You were back in the middle of a political firestorm.
Yeah, for walking on the beach with my wife. So I don't know how we ended up here. It never occurred to me that it was any kind of controversial thing, but that's the time we live in.
Kosha, really. I mean, he's claiming here that 86-47 is just a clever way to express a political viewpoint, and he didn't know of the violent meaning behind the number 86. Explain to my audience why that post caused such concern.
So 47, obviously Trump's the 47th president, and 86 in American slang, it can mean something milder like canceling an order at a diner to something much more sinister like ordering it.
Certainly in recent times it's been
vengeance
to kill.
For sure. And
the result is the softer version, but
yeah. And the point is, it's not so much the code. Like, I don't even think people are alleging that he's issuing some secret command off X. It is that you are the former FBI director.
Yeah.
So your position carries weight, your words carry weight, your tweets and X posts carry weight. And to just casually throw that thing out there, even if he was doing it to be funny, which I don't think people think of him as somebody who'd be doing comedy on there, but even if he were doing that, it's just irresponsible, and that's why it created this whole firestorm. And also it's a new day where the Trump administration wants to be on offense and go after these kinds of innuendos and insinuations from the other side in a way that maybe they would not have last time.
It's just an incredible thing for a former FBI director to do, particularly against a president who's already had 2 assassination attempts, and we always know there's threats against his life. Just astonishing work there. Now to another example of no one being above the law. Interim US Attorney Alina Habba has announced today that her office has charged Congresswoman McIver with violation of Title 18. This is for allegedly assaulting, impeding and interfering with law enforcement. Here is some footage of that incident. The Democrat Congresswoman is in red in this footage.
We are exiles no longer.
Logistics upgrade complete.
We cannot survive without armor. All power to jump drive.
Not enough crystal. Military structure complete.
We cannot survive without armor. Our vengeance is yours. The anima are restless.
Those antics, Kosha, were outside an ICE facility in New Jersey, Immigration Detention Center. Incredible the Democrats think they could behave like that with cameras there, with law enforcement, and not have some sort of an investigation or possible charges.
I think they believe that because it's never happened. Like, the other side just never, ever goes after anything like this. And it started with words where they say, you know, we will resist, or I think it was the governor of New Jersey or Connecticut, or both of them, who said that they're hiding somebody on top of their garage. Then it moved into trespassing. So the mayor of Newark, in that same incident over there, was actually charged with trespassing, and then those charges were dropped. And then it went further, where she's putting her hands on an officer, which if anybody else, if you or I did that, there very well could and and should be consequences to it.
Your presence is strong.
She thinks she's above the system because this is a clashing of different branches of government, and the executive branch is a congressional representative. However, nobody is above the law. We've been told this for 4 years, and I think they're finding out.
And there's calls for her to step down because when there has been precedents with Republicans facing charges, being forced to step down before there was any trial or verdict. I doubt that's going to happen, but we are seeing the administration take these matters seriously. First with Comey, with this, they are not going to just let things go through to the keeper as Republicans have in the past.
They're definitely playing offense, and the other thing too is, so the law may be on their side, and the statute code is so big you can find a law against anybody if you want to bring it, and prosecutors can bring discretion. They are bringing this discretion with offense because the other side crossed the Rubicon first. And for everybody crying that it's politically motivated, I think the counter-argument to that is, so what? Even if it is politically motivated, it has been on the other side as well, and you've got to play dirty and fight fire with fire is what the Trump administration is clearly
absolutely.
indicating.
You had people connected with Trump, people part of the administration go to jail for things that people will never really charged with. And so the appetite is there certainly within the Trump camp. If they want to play these games, then we're going to play it by their rules, and it's going to come back to them. It's not going to be a one-way street.
Yeah. I think this is just the beginning, but it is going to mushroom into a big issue right now, and it's certainly creating another political fight.
Now, before we switch to the UK, and gosh, we've had some developments there in recent days. What did you make of Trump's Middle East tour? It was astonishing on so many levels. The way he was baited. The speech he gave, basically saying the interventionists, the neocons, got it wrong, and they caused a great deal of damage in pursuing regime change. And it seemed to be one where they were going to focus on the shared interest of prosperity as well as peace. It seemed to be as much about making business deals as it was about creating long-lasting peace.
It was really remarkable on so many levels. I call it deal-making diplomacy, because that is his way of bringing trillions of dollars of investment into the country, at least on paper. And the diplomacy was about, it really was shunning his own party, the Republican Party, and what they did in the Bush years and the Forever Wars, kind of giving a nod or paying respect to this very complex culture, imperfect as it may be, but saying it is not the West's job to go and impose themselves on that. And it was also notable, of course, because he did not visit Israel.
Your presence is strong.
That controversy is part of that region, but he was there for these 3 countries and to have his mission of bringing money back to the U.S.
And again, people miss this country in particular, but a lot of Trump's policy positions is what the old school left used to have maybe a decade or 2 ago. So it's hard for someone on the left to condemn this, given it's what they've been advocating for a long time. Now, let's switch to the UK, and Keir Starmer, he seems to be morphing into some new age Trump. Let's have a look at some of the stuff he's been posting online in recent times. This is his latest work. He said, if you work here illegally or employ people who do, we're coming for you. Illegal working rates are up 40%, and we won't stop there. He posted that on Sunday. The day before, he posted this. For too long, Britain has been addicted to cheap overseas labour, while 1 in 8 of our own young people aren't in education, employment or training. I'm putting our young people first. Britain first. Ooh. Investing in skills they need and ending our dependence on foreign labour. A week earlier, he posted this. This is Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, and he said, if you want to live in the UK, you should speak English. That's common sense. So we're raising English language requirements across every main immigration route. And this settlement in the UK is a privilege that is earned, not a right. Again, this isn't Donald Trump saying this, is Keir Starmer. And finally this, he said, the Tories lost control of our borders and let net migration soar to record levels, undercutting hard-working Brits. I won't stand for it. I promise to restore control and cut migration, and I'm delivering with tough new measures. British workers, I've got your back. Kosha, what is going on? How is this open borders leftist morphing into Donald Trump? He didn't tell me that was Keir Starmer, and he asked me which world leader had posted those tweets.
Military structure complete.
Democrats
metamorphosis of that is some weapons-grade cojones, as they say, for him to just go and do that 180. And I think the reason is those are extremely popular positions. They have been for the better part of 40 years in the UK, in Australia, in America, in Canada, in the West. And it was a wide opening in the field that the right side of the aisle, for the most part, failed to take in country after country. And so he's taking it because it's a wide opening, and he knows it's popular, it's politically expedient, and on some level you've got to admire it because the left plays to win, and they will do what the other side, failed to.
Well, yeah, I mean, words are cheap. The rhetoric is there. Whether it's actually going to be backed up by action is another thing. Whether they've got the appetite to follow through, but they're worried about reform. Nigel Farage, we hear so much here about how Donald Trump cost the Liberals the election, despite the fact that they went in with a Labor-like policy. Farage is fine about cozying up to Trump, copying some of that ideology, and he's doing brilliantly. He's polling, and also just the recent council elections and by-elections, he did particularly well.
He is, and that's the other reason for this, is politically expedient, as you say, and I think Starmer's trying to neutralize Farage as much as he can. But you're right, words are cheap, and if they don't follow through, they might do a token move here and there. But if they don't follow through, that issue Farage owns. So I think it'll be hard for Starmer to take that away from him.
And really, shame on the Tories. They were in government for so long, and they governed like Labor. We talk about the Liberals here having Labor-like policies. We had Tories governments who thought they were the Labor Party. Now, before you go, leftist activist and football broadcaster Gary Lineker will no longer be a presenter for the BBC after reposting on Instagram a story about Zionism, which featured a picture of a rat, an image widely perceived as virulently anti-Semitic. Kosher Lineker is the BBC's highest paid presenter. He's getting paid more than $2.6 million a year.
Have engaged the enemy.
And he's got a long track record of this sort of activism. This isn't new. He seems to be a leftist activist first and football commentator second.
Indeed, this is a big scalp, though, and I think this is a bridge too far. So there are other examples of darlings of the left, like Mehdi Hassan comes to mind, for example, who was fired for making not similar, but topics, comments around that same topic, and especially Israel and Gaza, and then veering into anti-Semitism. So you reap what you sow, as they say in that case. There is a little bit where people say, as you point out, that he was saying all sorts of controversial political things for years against the right, against other groups, and never had the scalp taken. This, though, is the bridge too far, and he probably didn't see it coming.
And you know what? You would feel sorry for someone who you might say in this case has been a victim of cancel culture, but Gary Lineker was such an enthusiastic backer of cancel culture that there ain't no sympathy here. Kosher Gator, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
Joining me now is comedian and host of Primetime with Alex Stein on Blaze TV, Alex Stein himself. Let's start with the curious timing of former President Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis, and there have been no shortage of experts coming out to dispute the claims that the cancer was discovered just in recent days.
I'm a prostate cancer patient. I'm on the board of the Prostate Cancer Foundation.
We are exiles no longer.
About this illness. I've treated it for 40 years.
The anima are restless.
I saw them say, hey, we found a nodule, already my spidey sense was up, because we really don't do the digital rectal exam anymore. We follow the PSA. And we found this nodule, and oh my goodness, he's got metastatic disease. I thought, no, it does not pass the sniff test. If indeed he was diagnosed, say, a couple of years ago, and he has metastatic disease, he would be subjected to something called androgen deprivation therapy. That's the treatment for his condition. And they're trying to avoid saying that he's been on that for a while because some of the common side effects include muscular wasting and muscular instability and falls and cognitive slowing and fatigue.
More credits are
We've
required.
seen that evolve over the last 2 years. And so my suspicion is he's been on androgen deprivation therapy, and they've known about this for a long time.
Alex, are we really to believe that the President of the United States was not having regular checkups, regular blood tests, and they discovered this cancer at this late stage?
Well, Rita, I think it's pretty obvious that they had
We
to
are
have some
exiles
sort
no
of prior
longer.
knowledge about, this terrible diagnosis for President Biden. And I think it was actually Laura Loomer who reported that they might have, found this cancer diagnosis when he was on, Air Force One heading from, I think it was Las Vegas back to Washington, D.C. Now, that's not confirmed, but I think it's obvious that they probably had prior knowledge of this cancer. And I don't know how
I would think if they had prior knowledge well before that, Alex. I mean, from what I'm understanding from experts in the field, these sort of regular blood tests would show this up many years ago. And we played a video last night from around 2 years ago when Joe Biden said on stage about having cancer, and his people said he was a gaffe, but it seemed to be a pretty clear statement. He even attributed the cause. He was talking about the pollution in the area where he grew up. But already, Alex, the push is on from Democrats and their propaganda arm to go easy on Joe Biden, given this diagnosis. Let's have a look at CNN.
His medical condition now, his announced medical condition now. Do you believe that silences or delays a lot of conversations about his,
more
last year
credits
and a
are
half
required.
of his presidency? For now.
starts now. Don't be sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think those conversations
We offer the absolution of death.
happen, but they should be more muted and set aside for now.
Vengeance is yours.
Through this.
Harmony research
Alex,
complete.
do you agree that conversations about Biden's
Hostility
cognitive
research
issues
complete.
should be muted
Our
now?
forces have engaged the enemy.
Well, I think
The
we should
future
have these tough
is
conversations.
ours.
But Rita, the real
Say
elephant in the
no
room is
more.
I wouldn't have been surprised if they didn't want, something tragic
The
to
enema
happen to
are
Joe Biden, so
restless.
they could have put Kamala Harris in. I think it is very
offer
weird
the
that they were
absolution
talking
of
about this
death.
2 years ago, and now they magically bring it up. So
shall escape
I think we
our
just need to talk about the
fury.
presidency honestly about what he just did for the past 4 years, but also be
Shields down.
respectful of this horrible thing that's happening to
your
him.
mind.
So it's a delicate,
Destiny unfolds.
tightrope to walk, but
Harmony
I think we
research
can walk
complete.
it, and we should be able to criticize his presidency while also being empathetic to this horrible diagnosis.
Now, let's have a look at this character. This is Dr. Kevin
Item
O'Connor,
complete.
Joe Biden's White
Modules
House
installed.
physician. He
Our will
repeatedly
is
declared the
transcendent.
president was fit
Our will
and well,
is
mentally and physically fit
transcendent.
to serve.
We
You
offer
probably have
the
some questions to
absolution of death.
answer there, Alex. But what of the decisions that Joe Biden made when he was cognitively unsound, perhaps depleted even further due to intensive treatments? In his final days, we know he pardoned a bunch of people, including his son Hunter and Dr.
Production
Anthony
of the
Fauci.
item is complete.
The head of the Justice Department's Weaponization Working Group, Ed Martin, posted this. He said the integrity of the American pardon system requires that we examine the Biden
exiles no
pardons and
longer.
who did what. We will get to the bottom of it. Count on us. Are those pardons in peril now, Alex?
Planet item ready.
Well, from the research that I've done, it's very hard to overturn a pardon, but they had an auto-pin presidency. Joe Biden was not in control. They had his signature. They had the ability to put it on any sort of document or any sort of pardon that they wanted. So will we get any retribution? I highly doubt it. And some of the
commands your
judges that were giving
destruction.
kickbacks and putting juveniles in
shields are
prison,
offline.
those judges, those
Your
pro judges
presence
should have
is
never been
strong.
pardoned. So
We'll
it's a
consider
horrible
it.
injustice
cannot
of
survive
what they
without
did with the
armor.
pardon system.
The enema are restless.
And
The enemy will know
bizarre
our
Hunter
wrath.
Biden pardon,
Our
which went into the
vengeance is
future dates.
yours.
I mean, that was something that Biden
Our
pledged he
will
would
shall
not
be
do,
done.
and he did
Shields
it.
are compromised.
Now, I want to play you
We are in grave
a
danger
clip
without
of a
our armor.
female soccer
We are
star. I've got to say,
exiles
I've
no
never heard
longer.
of this character before.
All
Her name
power
is
to jump
Ashlyn
drive.
Harris,
We await
and
the
apparently
unity's
she
command.
is a exceptional person. Just ask her.
Know what it's like to live at the top, and the air is very thin, and I choose to be exceptional every single day. Like, it is literally
We shall
choice.
do as
Like,
you
I
command.
wake up and I'm like,
The unity calls us
I don't
to
know what
action.
it's like just to choose to be
Production
average.
of the
Like, I
item
don't
is
fuck
complete.
with average people.
We shall
They
do
don't
as
feel
you command.
comfortable. I don't like to be in the
Their
same
worlds
room,
will
in the same
burn in the
spaces. I
unity's
think,
flames.
like, it's
We await
contagious.
a worthy foe.
Wow. Alex, I thought that was satire, but apparently it's serious. What else can you tell me about this woman? Because I'm suddenly fascinated. She seems to be
Your presence is
just
strong.
cringe on steroids.
No, she's a genius. No, hey, listen, if you're not
They
on her
have
level,
been
if you're
judged.
not 100%, any amateurs around me, Rita, I agree. Get out of here. I don't like to interact with anybody unless they're a millionaire. So no, she's on the
The
right.
anima are restless.
Everything that she's doing is exactly correct. If you're not a millionaire, if you're not grinding every single day, you're not my friend. So I like where
Our
her head
vengeance
is at. I'm
is
going to go follow
yours.
her right now, Rita. We need
Burn
more people
away
that are
their
more
sin.
cutthroat like that. That's a problem in America. We're all too soft. We need some more vicious killers like Ashlyn.
Well, yeah, a goalkeeper, but apparently she is just one of the most exceptional people in the country, and I can see why you like her. She's kind of got that same shtick you do, but you do it as satire. She's doing it seriously, Alex. I've got to say, I'm a little bit concerned.
Production of the item is
No,
complete.
you're exactly right. Obviously, she's an athlete, and she probably has a big ego, but you know, the women's soccer team, it wasn't that long ago where they got beaten by a bunch of under 16 men's players. So, you know, these players are under 16 years old. So, yeah, I think they need to be check their ego a little bit, but she's a good player. You know what? She's competitive. I'll let it slide this time.
Just pretend to be humble, Alex. Just pretend to be humble, even if you're not. Alex Stein, thank you so much for your time tonight.
We are exiles no longer.
Hostility research complete. Insufficient metal.
If you want God's presence on you, marking you, making you distinct and different from the people around you, then you gotta walk in a manner worthy of the Lord. Anything natural cannot take care of the supernatural. When your problem is unseen and spiritual, you need weapons that work in that realm. I came to tell you that by God's Spirit there is gifts and there is power that has been entrusted to you, that is available to you, available to me as daughters of the Most High King. Let me just go ahead and read God's word over you while you're standing. Is that all right? I think every now and then we ought to just stand up when God's word is read, just to remind ourselves who's talking to us. Listen to Luke chapter 2. Verse 21 through about verse 32 or so. When Jesus was about 8 days were completed, he was circumcised. His name was then called Jesus, the name given by the angel before he was conceived. And when the days for purification according to the law of Moses were completed, that's about 40 days after Jesus was born or so. So he's 40 days old. They brought him into Jerusalem to present him to the Lord. Every firstborn male that opens the womb shall be called holy to the Lord. And they came to offer sacrifices according to what was said of the law of the Lord, a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. And behold, somebody say behold. Come on, y'all, say behold. And behold, there was a man in Jerusalem. This guy's name was Simeon, and he was righteous and devout and looking for the consolation of Israel. And the Holy Spirit was on his life. And it had been revealed to him by the Spirit that he would not see death until he had caught sight of Jesus. So he came into the Spirit, into the temple, and when the parents brought in the child Jesus to carry out the custom of the law, Simeon saw him. He recognized that this little baby was Jesus Christ. He gathered the baby up in his arms. He blessed the child, and he said, Lord, now you can let me depart in peace. I don't have to see anything else. I haven't yet seen this guy perform one miracle. Lazarus hadn't been raised from the dead. The sick have not yet been healed. Deaf ears haven't yet been opened. I haven't seen any of that, but once I've caught sight of the Savior, Lord, he says, you can let me depart in peace because my eyes have seen your salvation, which you've prepared in the presence of all the people. He's a light of revelation to the Gentiles and the glory of thy people, Israel. Thank you for letting me see Jesus. Lord, open up our eyes.
To be completely honest with you, I have some disagreement around your push for, I don't know if a monarchy I disagree with. I can understand the efficacy argument. Yeah, it is inefficient, but I do think Churchill's right when he's like democracy is the worst form of government except for all the others. I can't think of, and the problem is when I press people on this, they can't provide me a specific alternative. They just say, well, I'd be more inclined for something resembling this or that. I do think we are seeing patterns that echo like Oswald Mosley, for example, where even in the 70s in his last interview, I don't know if it was his last interview, but if you were to ask him, did you hate Jews? He's like, no, I had many Jewish friends. And I just resented it. I dislike a small number of Jews who were dragging us into war with Poland. I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds familiar around Iraq, but I understand you lay out a good argument, but I'm seeing what I try and do is identify these logical patterns, and it's not so much about when you are dealing with logic. It's not what I feel about it. It's whether the logic indicates it or not. But yeah, you can fire away. And do you have any questions for me as well?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just wonder, because I will say just quickly, a lot of people might watch this and say, oh, Nick is going liberal. In many ways, I have I don't want to say taken like a leftward turn, but I have become, and I think this happens with everybody, you get a little older and I become a little bit less like, I would say ideologically, in favor of autocracy, but also just skeptical of a lot of the arguments for it, because there's this old argument from Carlyle where he says the best form of government is where you find the most capable man and make him the dictator. And to me, that just seems like a LARP. That just seems like role play, because it's yeah, and if we could, make everything awesome, we would make everything awesome, but it's like, as I get older, I sort of reflect and say life in America was pretty good, actually. For the past few hundred years, it is a stable society. It is a society where I think people have been able to get along pretty well. And so I've been a little more skeptical of some of the, rambunctious stuff I said 10 years ago. And I don't take that back. I think, it's a process, but just hearing you say that, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit more skeptical of it too. But I guess my question is, so what is your position then on Israel and the Jews? Because obviously there's something up. How would you characterize it, or what do you think I'm getting wrong about it?
Let's go to Hollywood back to the Hollywood example. My grandfather worked, and he was the head of the art department at Warner Brothers. I'm not. My last name's Smith. I'm not Jewish. He wasn't Jewish. My ancestry traces back to England. I've never really thought about until recently, until it started popping up in the news. I'd never really thought about it. I was pretty naive. But going back to the idea of Hollywood, I think that Hollywood is run now by these massive corporations. I understand there's this, I worked in Hollywood for a while as an assistant to a talent agent, and there was a lot of performative. We would take the day off on Jewish holidays to act in it. And I was like, what? I didn't know anything about Jewish holidays. I was like, why are we doing this? He's like, well, we have to, or you'll get in trouble. So there is a pressure to not talk about Israel. I was talking to my family about it last night, and one of my parents, they were very concerned about this. And I said, why do you think Israel has so much influence? And they didn't have an answer. So when you come along and you are able to articulate something in the space of absence, it's going to, I think that's one of the reasons you are gaining so much momentum. I think you are on the precipice. If you wanted it, you would be on the precipice of great power, which is why I wanted to challenge you on some of these things. Just, I feel a bit better about some of these things. Like, you're not what many people make you out to be. So you were asking me with Israel. So I don't think that it is what many people think it is. We are narrative creatures. The narrative often can take hold because we make sense of the world through these stories.
Upgrade complete.
But I'm not sure that it's what we think it is. And that would just be an example of many other industries. I think there's a lot of wealthy business people. So, all right, look, for example, where does power really come from in America? Looking back to World War II, it was the Ivy League colleges. There was no CIA. And the amount of power at these universities, the senators would send their sons. So in the lead up to the year before Pearl Harbor, which I know you had some theories on Pearl Harbor, Roosevelt's godson was president of the student body. I found the story in the Harvard archive when I was doing my thesis, just about this time period, to make a movie, to tell a story about it. He was rooming at one time with John F. Kennedy. His older brother, Joe Kennedy, was supposed to be the president, got killed in the war. Their dad, Joe Kennedy, Irish originally, but his ancestry came over, made money through organized crime, like we were talking about, and investments. He was able to get his money out right before the crash, so that blew him up. No Jewish anything to be seen. They were very concerned about Jews at Harvard. There was what we're going to use the word anti-Semitism for a minute. Just there was what people today are calling anti-Semitism. Looking back at this, and this is largely unknown, but there was a cap put on how many Jewish people could even enroll at Harvard. There was no women at Harvard. They were going to Radcliffe. The war changed all of that out of necessity, because it essentially transformed to, we don't care what your religion is, what your gender is. Can you contribute? Can you help make this bomb, whatever it is we're doing? And that really changed the landscape like overnight once Pearl Harbor hit. But as I was examining this framework, you've got these secret societies, that the finals clubs, these networks between the three major Ivy Leagues, okay, Yale, Princeton, and Harvard. And there was no CIA, so they started to fill in that space. And the CIA was formed after the end of the war. But they realized we need this kind of gentleman spy. They come from well-bred families. They're wealthy, charismatic, educated, and they started recruiting them. But I do think it all ties together. And then we see Epstein investing at Harvard. He was teaching at a school near where I live in Massachusetts, where students go for high school from the same families, and then they go to Harvard. I think you are spot on that there is a network of extremely powerful individuals in this country. I'm just a little skeptical about it's controlled by Jews.
Yeah, well, and everything you just said is really good and totally true, by the way. And that I really got red pilled on the universities recently because, you know, being from Chicago, my parents didn't go to college. My parents were working class. We're ethnics. You know, we are American ethnics. My grandfather on my mom's side was a garbage man. My grandfather on my dad's side was like a heroin addict. So it's like I had no pedigree, no lineage. And so it took me a long time actually to realize how short the train ride is between DC, New York, and Harvard, and realize that corridor is so powerful, and how you know, the Ivy Leagues really are this like elite making institution. And really, what is it? It's like what it does is select for status and then increasingly for IQ. And how do we groom the human capital and mobilize the human capital of the country, the most intelligent, into the elite strata to guide and lead the society? And then you realize the role of the universities and how they interplay with the state and with Wall Street and with finance. And you think about all these things, like the internet got started at the universities. The social media companies got started at the universities. Right. It all comes out. And even a lot of the tech stuff comes out of the research labs at these universities. And look, not to be that guy, so you're spot on. And that is like structurally how power works. That's 100% right. But then you look at how overrepresented this group is. And I'm not trying to give you unsolicited advice, but you got to check out Ron Unz if you haven't already. You're an intelligent guy, I can tell. This guy's off the charts brilliant. Unz Review, he is Jewish, and he has a whole series called American Pravda, and he writes about all these conspiracies. And one of them, it's called The Myth of American Meritocracy. And he writes about how, you know, there's this contingent argument. They say, well, the reason the Jews are so powerful is because they're so smart. They're high IQ, they're educated, it's part of their culture. And certainly that's part of the truth. Like, no one would dispute, like you said, the Jews were bursting at the seams to get into Harvard despite the quotas because they were extremely talented. No one can deny. The question is it that alone? And what he did is he looked at all I forget the test that he used, but he took this test on math and science that all the seniors take, and he looked at the top scores of the test, and almost all of them were Asian, and almost none of them were Jewish. And yet a quarter of the student body at like Columbia, 25%, and many of these other Ivy League schools are Jewish. And you would say if they're 2,000% overrepresented, are they 2,000% overrepresented in the standardized tests? If the answer is no, then there's something else going on. And then you also look at the faculty. It's like, I think there's 6 out of the 8 Ivy Leagues have Jewish presidents. And then there's this war going on with the universities. What's happening as we speak? Trump is brokering these deals with Harvard, Brown, Columbia. He seized their federal loans and grants because of anti-Semitism. And who led the charge? Bill Ackman, Ronald Lauder, Jewish billionaire alumni of UPenn and Harvard, or Harvard and UPenn, respectively. Ronald Lauder is the chair of the World Jewish Congress. He was tight with Epstein. And, you know, Bill Ackman is tight with the head of BlackRock, Larry Fink. And they said, we're going to blacklist all the Israel critics. They all put money behind Trump to get elected. And what is one of the 10 planks of the GOP platform last year? Out of 10, go after the universities for the protests against Israel. And that's what he did. And he's bringing them to heel, and he's doing this DEI thing. He's doing the, some other things. But the big pitch is like, get anti-Semitism under control. And if you know how important the universities are, it matters if they're squelching free speech on that issue at Harvard and Columbia and Yale in particular. So I would just throw that out there. And I'm not trying to do blood sports with you or whatever, but just kind of add to that because you're spot on. And, that's very good information. People need to know that. The relationship with, even the non-Jewish families like the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, that's all real and tight with the universities. But I think that there was like a handoff that was done during World War II, probably finalized by the 70s, where you do get the Anglo elite hands off a lot of the power to the newcomers, to a lot of Jewish people. And, they're in the CIA, they're at the Ivy Leagues, all these places that they were gate kept out of, like the country club, they then got in and then became very influential. And then we started having issues. So that would be, but it's interesting to hear your take on that because you're not wrong at all about that. I would just add to it.
Hey, no bid, no deal.
It's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's start with some weapon-grade crazy before elevating to something a little more sophisticated. But first, the crazy. This next clip features Katie Couric. That's the former NBC anchor, the gal who thought it was a good idea to dine with Jeffrey Epstein after he was convicted, after it became clear that he was a filthy pedophile. Well, here is Katie with gal pal MSNBC anchor Jen Psaki.
More and more of the questions in there are by sycophants, are by people who are not asking about news that the American people cares about, putting out conspiracy theories. They're people who... And they're getting a lot of the questions.
More credits are required.
Conspiracy theories, she says, like the Russian collusion hoax you and the Democrats, other propagandists in the media pushed relentlessly for 4 years. Imagine how crazy and warped your view of the world is if you think Donald Trump is getting an easy ride from the media.
More credits
now,
are
let's
required.
hear the ladies turn up the hyperbole.
That's a huge problem because it's becoming more of a Kremlin-esque press corps.
Right, and they've invited a lot of reporters from very right-wing media outlets, and you're right, they usually say, I forget, there was one example, like, did you ever believe that you would be the peacemaker?
God forbid that the White House press corps would be representative of the country and not exclusively filled with hard-left activists. And I love that the most egregious examples you can find of a terrible question is one about Trump being a peacemaker. Katie, the man did oversee 8 peace deals in his second term. It hasn't even been a year. Now let's hear from 2 other young ladies who display similar intellect and judgment to Jen and Katie.
Seem very misogynistic, realistically.
So what is misogyny? So why are you using words that you don't even know the definition of?
No, that's not what I meant.
I think you are misogynistic.
So what does misogynistic mean, though? Like, just so I know what you're calling me.
Item completion.
Okay, so the reason I said it is just, again, based on the
Because you hear it on the internet?
Nah, bro, are you stupid?
The nerve to call him stupid after that performance. The American education system has failed those two. Maybe if they read a book or two instead of watching Mel Robbins' videos on Instagram, they'd be a little bit smarter. And talking about Mel Robbins, she made an appearance on Bill Maher's program, and sadly, she's a typical ill-informed awful. That's affluent, white, female lefty.
Like, I see so many people are upset about him building a ballroom. I could give a I don't shit about it.
We're paying for it, whether you voted for him or not.
No, we're not paying for it.
She really should stick to giving terrible advice to sad girls on the internet because she clearly knows nothing about politics.
Hey, no bid, no
How
fear.
did she miss the most pertinent fact about the ballroom, that it's not taxpayer funded? And let's stick with Bill Maher, who gave this blistering assessment of Larry David, the once funny and once genius comic who has allowed his Trump derangement to run amok.
This is so childish, so purely emotional. The people who got all butthurt because I had dinner with him, you know, because he's Hitler.
Item complete.
Except he's not. So unhelpful and dumb. Trump is the most supportive president Israel and the Jews ever had. You know, every year I used to ask Larry David to do real time, and he'd always say, Bill, I can't. I'm not smart enough about politics to do your show. Yeah, I get that now.
You know what? Bill Maher is proof that there is a cure for TDS. He was among the worst offenders, folks. He would sit right there with nutbags like Robert De Niro, give them a platform to spew their nonsense, and he would back it up. He would make the most outrageous claims about Trump. But though he remains a lefty and he's also a Democrat still, he's no longer raving like a lunatic. Now to a video that has caused all sorts of uproar because the president correctly labelled it seditious. Here we have Democrats calling for members of the military to break the chain of command and disobey orders. I'm just going to play you 10 seconds of this nonsense.
Right now, threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad, but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
Now, typically, CNN anchor Jake Tapper has joined the Democrats in claiming that Donald Trump is giving illegal orders to the US military and that individuals could be charged for following those orders. And of course, he's far more upset by Trump reacting to the sedition than the sedition itself.
President Trump's wildly inappropriate and potentially dangerous call for 6 members of Congress to potentially be executed or hanged because they issued a video reminding members of the military that they do not have to carry out illegal orders glosses over the fact, because Trump's reaction was so out of control, that this issue of illegal orders is not a new one. There's this new movie out starring Russell Crowe called Nuremberg.
I just love that after having a mass meltdown about a so-called insurrection, Democrats are now campaigning for an insurrection, quite openly too. And what about Jake Tapper referencing Nuremberg, the movie, because his dim audience doesn't know the actual history? Let's hear now from one of these Democrats who called for members of the military to commit treason, essentially. Here is Alyssa Slotkin. I wonder if she can name one illegal order that President Trump has issued.
Do you believe President Trump has issued any illegal orders?
To my knowledge, I am not aware of things that are illegal, but certainly there are some legal gymnastics that are going on with these Caribbean strikes and everything related to Venezuela.
What did she say? To my